scrub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the crop, gotta love it or not. I'm hot from the hop to the scrub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the scrub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the scrub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the scrub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with everybody, we do it. Everybody, we do it.
Happy pre-Thanksgiving, my trappers. You are now tapped in to the coolest reptile podcast in the world. I'm your boy, MJ. What is good? If this is your first time tapping in, please do your boy a favor. Hit that subscribe button. Hit the like button, dislike button. If it's a legit dislike, I'm cool with it. Hit it. Shit. Drop a comment. Let me know how you're liking the podcast. And let me know, let the guests know how you're liking their interview and whatnot, because they pay attention to that stuff, as do I. But what is good? Happy holidays, guys. Damn, I love this time of year. I mean, not because I'm more of a Christmas guy, but fucking get to eat. But everyone's about to crunch down tomorrow. And yeah, people are already at fucking pre-Thanksgiving dinners now. So if you are doing something and you're tapping in right now, I appreciate you. What is good? Shout out to all the early birds in the building. I see you guys right now, but man, we are going to have a great night tonight because we have somebody I've been wanting to interview for quite a while, and he's going to hang out with us. But before we get to him, you guys know what the deal is for the freshest and bestest rodents delivered to your doorstep with no issue. That's going to be coldbloodedcafe.com. And guess what? Black Friday specials are here. They're running specials throughout the whole weekend. Nobody can compete with Cold Blooded Cafe's Black Friday specials. So I'm telling you right now, if you want to fucking take up space in your freezer and you want to cop up some frozen thawed, dude, go over to their website right now and just fucking take advantage. You know what I mean? Clean them out. Let's go. But yeah, shout out to Steven, shout out to Desiree, shout out to the whole Cold Blooded Cafe team. You guys are amazing. Thank you for supporting the trap. And shout out to John and Alex over at Sim Container. If you got eggs, put them inside of a Sim box. Thank me later. To eliminate any kind of process to get eggs inside of in the incubator is, I feel like that's crucial. So, I mean, if you could just not have to deal with the food seal wrap when it sticks and all that shit and all that frustrating stuff, delete all that. Go with the Sim Container. But also, Focus Cube Habitats. That's where it's at right now. I'm telling you right now, the Focus Cube Habitats are the shit. PVC built, based out of Texas. Awesome thing about Focus Cube Habitats, made out of PVC, custom designed. They are on some special type shit with these enclosures. So go check them out. Go check them out on Instagram. Hit up their website. And dude, I'm telling you, invest in one of their enclosures and then hit me up. Let me know what you think. I've only heard nothing but positive things about Focus Cube Habitats. I have a handful of Focus Cube Habitat enclosures, but the goal is to have a room full of them. I am that committed. Not only because they're the sponsor, but I'm just telling you, PVC, it just looks clean. It's easy to clean. It's easy to move around. I don't want to just keep going, but shout out to Steve and Ashley. You guys are awesome. Thank you for supporting the trap. Shout out to the leader in the stainless steel rack industry, the rack system industry altogether. Just fucking, when it comes to snake racks, nothing beats Freedom Breeder, in my opinion, and many other people's opinion, especially people who actually own a Freedom Breeder. I've been around a lot of Freedom Breeders. I've yet not to own one. So, but I could tell you right now, like being around one and then having quote unquote, I don't want to bash the other company, but another company rack, I'm like, fuck, dude, I'm going Freedom Breeder. But, at the end of the day, they are in serious demand right now. So you guys just need to hurry up and get on that train. If you don't have any freedom breeder shit like myself, just get on it. And yeah, I'm telling you right now, they don't lose any value. And it's like it's literally the professional level of snake breeding or rat producing, mice producing. I always fuck that part up. Anyways, shout out to Miguel Garcia, always evolving pythons, making big moves, doing big things, having a killer fucking record-breaking year for himself, for sure. He's doing big things. Pretty sure he's close to about 80-ish, or I'm like probably close to 90 clutches at this point. But either way, go check him out. If you're into ball pythons and you don't follow Always Evolving Pythons, you're a hater, straight up, because this guy is so inspiring. There's nothing not to like about this guy. And he's been inspiring people from the beginning, like myself. So go check him out. Really killing it in the YouTube game. Has a Spanish channel. He's a real hustler. I mean, this is somebody where, yeah, he does what he does full time because he does multiple things and he just nonstop grinds. This guy is just telling you, entrepreneurship to the VIP status right there, Miguel Garcia. Thank you so much, Miguel, for taking care of the podcast, and supporting us and all that other stuff. I love you, fam, all day, every day. I also love US Arc, as so should you. US Arc needs all our help. If you have animals, then you should be fucking with US Arc, straight up. US Arc fights for our animal rights. They go and basically shut bunch of Karens and Bob Smiths down who want to keep us from having certain species and whatnot. Keep our sanity. They're trying to take our sanity, basically. And that's not going to happen. So what we got to do is come together as a group, as a unit. Put the politics down and let's all fight with US Arc to fucking keep our animals and make sure everyone does not have to go through any heartbreak and have to give their animals to some fucking weirdo or some shit. I mean, I just don't ever. Yeah, I just saw the Tiger King 2, like the second one, fucking ripped right through that shit. But man, towards the very end where they went to go take all that fool's animals. I mean, God forbid that guy was a piece of shit. But I'm just saying, like, I was like, damn, wonder if they would go to that extent if they wanted to, take people's snakes away. I mean, they would have to do that to a lot of people. And a lot of motherfuckers are strapped. You feel me? But anyways, US Arc, thank you so much for what you do, Phil. You're the man. I can't wait to see you at the next show. What is the next show? I know Pomona, which he'll be at Pomona. So I'll see you at Pomona, man. Guys, listen, shout out to Antoine Hood. It's my boy right here. I'm rocking his shirt. Do me a favor, okay? Go down to the link below. There's like a little competition. Shout out to Chris Eaton, Snakes and the Fat Man. But he has like a competition that people are losing their mind about. Like, motherfuckers really want to be on this podcast. So, hey, Chris, respect to you, bro, because you're creating a killer buzz and motherfuckers want to be all about it. So why don't we just make this short and simple, though? Let's just go to this link real quick and go to vote for Antoine Hood right there. He's already probably leading and smashing it, but let's just go ahead and confirm this right now. Go to this link into the description below. Just click on this handsome black dude with the bald head. Boom. Let him know you did it. That way, when he becomes a black belt, you're protected. You feel me? You get what I'm saying? But anyways, Antoine, I'm sure you're going to win. I hope you win. You deserve to win. And I can't wait to listen to that interview, man. I had the privilege of having Antoine already on Trap Talk. I mean, it was great. I can't wait for another round with him. And yeah, you're my boy, Blue. Shout out to Antoine Hood. And what is good with the early birds? Okay, hold on. Before we get to the early birds, guys, real quick. You want to ever get in touch with me if you want to see what I have available, like if you want to check out the Morph Market that's updated, that's right, my Morph Market store is finally updated. But all those links, all that stuff is at my Instagram. So just go check me out on Instagram, mjexoticscartal with an A, not an E. Go follow the Trap Talk with MJ podcast Instagram page as well. Shout out to my Twitch viewers. If you would like to support this channel more than a subscription or like to give a donation to US Arc on my behalf for you, you can just go and send it to PayPal at mjexoticscartal 619. And then last but not least, shout out to all my Patreon family. What is good? You guys are family. You're my heart. You know what the deal is. If you out there want to join a Discord and be a part of a fucking community where a bunch of people are working with different stuff, our Discord channels are so sick. We got so much different stuff going on. Either way, if you're out there and you're a sponge and you're wanting to learn, go down to the Trap Talk Patreon page, click that link, join at any level. I'll let you join the Discord and have some fun with us. I'm telling you right now, it's good shit. Shout out to my Patreon family. I will see you this Sunday. All right, what is good with my early birds? We got to get moving. Fuck, man. My intro sometimes lag. What is good, Jacob? Got Jacob in the building. Let's go. Trap Patreon family all day, every day. And let's see, we have Lily. What is good, Lily? Oh, look, see? Bringing my headphones so I could listen during Thanksgiving #2. I already knew somebody was doing some sort of function with family right now. And sure enough, it's Lily. Thank you for tapping in, Lily. Trap Patreon member right there all day. Damn, look who it is. Big dog Chris Surgery, ball pythons one-on-one. It's a funny story. The reason why I've always respected this dude, George, well, I mean, the reason why I was like, dude, I want to get in touch with him was because of Chris. Chris had nothing but high fucking yes. Are we good? All right. Are we good? Goddamn connection. Anyways, Chris Surgery, you're my boy, Blue. Thank you so much for putting me on game with George because I've been waiting for this episode for quite a while. And we're gonna get moving. Hopefully that didn't fuck with anything. But yeah, thank you. You're my boy. What up, Black Smoke Reptiles? What is good? Pacific Rims Serpents. What is cracking? All right, guys, we're just gonna get moving. Do that malfunction. I want to make sure we're good to go. So here we go. We're gonna tap in my boy George. He's tapping in from Florida, and here he is, George MD. What up, George?
Hey man, I'm here. Can you hear me good?
Oh wait, hold on. All right, you're double logged in. I have to boot you. 1 second. No, you're good. You're good. Hold on 1 second. I got this. Kick from studio. Boom. All right, hold on. You there?
I'm here, man.
Yeah, what is good?
Not much, man. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. Sorry it took so long, but I know you're busy. I had a lot going on, so I'm glad we could finally hook up. I appreciate it.
You do know I've been trying to get you on here for a while.
I know. And it was always one thing. It was a fair was in town, and there was just like so many different things going on and animals, but I'm glad we were finally able to get together, man. I appreciate it.
No, man, I love it when that finally happens because like I said, George, my respect for you goes way back to like the early 2018 days where like Chris Surgery was like really my coach, like helping me get my GHI shit in order and whatnot because he knew I was obsessed with GHI.
Yeah.
And like he connected with me to you with the GHI hypo. And I could tell you, not only was that GHI hypo, which he's fucking slayed it this year. He's already fucking tagging girls for next year. But dude, you hooked me up with GHI hypo female, which like, yeah, it was kind of, you're like one of the few breeders to do like a bonus like that. Like just out of like, you know, I don't know why you did it, but I can tell you right now, like that kind of shit inspired me. I do that now to my own customers and I get it why you do it. But like, so I take that back why you did it. But I'm just saying at the time, I didn't know why you did it because we didn't know each other. But either way, I'm happy you're fucking here, George. So for the people who don't really know your really extent with the animals, even me, like tell me how far back do you go with working with ball pythons? And if you happen to work with other stuff, let us know now.
Yeah, well, and like I said, kind of going back to giving you that snake, you know, sometimes like I was talking to you, everything was cool. You seem like a good dude. And I'll do that sometimes. I'll slip extra snakes in the bag or in the shipment just to, you know, make someone happy if I have a lot of it left over. You know, just little things that can help their projects that I don't really need. And I think it does kind of help a little bit. I appreciate it. But I started keeping reptiles. I mean, I've grown up around reptiles my whole life. I grew up in South Florida. We were always around animals. We didn't have all the invasives back then that they have now, but we still were around all kinds of animals. So I always had box turtles and ringneck snakes and just a bunch of stuff that I could catch. And then eventually I started getting into the exotics through a friend of mine. He did some small scale importing with birds and reptiles. Then I got exposed to that in like the mid 80s. But I had a pretty big collection back then. I mean, I had colubrids, monitors, big pythons. I just had a ton of stuff because I could get anything I wanted at the importers. In Florida, you know, we would make weekend trips going to these guys. You know, we'd go to Crutchfields and we'd go to South Florida. And we saw really cool stuff that you only saw, you know, like in books or on TV. We saw, you know, anacondas come in by the hundreds and retics. And it was just fun to do that. So started keeping exotics in the mid 80s. You know, I had colubrids. I had a lot of stuff. And then I kind of got a little overwhelmed. I actually had some ball pythons back then. A friend of mine worked for Bill Brandt years ago, and he picked out some really cool ball pythons back then, you know, but there was no market for them. And people laughed at you if you kept them in the mid 80s. You know, they were like a beginner snake. But we had a few back then and had a little bit of success with those. And then I kind of got out of reptiles for a few years, but I still went to all the shows and I still was kind of involved in it. And then started keeping again in early 2000. The ball pythons did attract me. You know, they were smaller than the big snakes, and the big snakes were kind of a pain in the ass trying to find food for them. And also, I shifted into the ball pythons. I bought an albino ball python male and a het female. I spent $3,000. And that was the most I ever spent for an animal, man. I was like, hope I didn't make a big mistake. But it worked out great. I got those from Dan Wolf, and then just kind of slowly built it from there. You know, I didn't have a ton of money to jump into it. I had to kind of really be careful, in the decisions I made. I made good ones and bad ones, try to learn from the bad ones, but slowly just kind of build up to where I am now. And it's taken a while, but had to grind it out, making my own heads. And I kind of like to make my own pieces. So it's taken me a little bit longer, to get where I am than some people, but I'm happy with where I'm at and the way that I did it, so it's kind of how I got into ball pythons again.
And guys, real quick, if you really want to get a good picture of what the longevity mindset looks like, you go follow my man George, because I could tell you right now, everything you put out, you could tell that's years of putting in holdback into holdback, and like the quality has never left your animals. What I'm trying to say, and it's with all your shit you post. Like you don't, I mean, you don't post the most, like I'm talking like fucking like Pompeii shit, but like the shit you still post is like. Nothing's out there like it. It's really high quality shit. But like I said, you're also on your own path with shit too. Like, Pompeii was created on its own path. You're literally on your own path to create who fucking God knows what. And that's why I love the ball pythons, because when you have somebody who really has just invested with their holdbacks and just keeps putting into their own work, dude, that's why Pompeii's and shit pop up. Like that's why things come out of left field. And Will Morrow, shout out to Will Morrow, but Will always said like nobody will ever outlive the morphs that we could like produce with these ball pythons. Like, we'll be dead by the time like you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
you have to live to be 200 years old to see what the capabilities of what we're doing, maybe, but he's right. And it is long term. And sometimes when I talk to people and they ask me questions, I'm like, you got to have patience. I don't care if you start into this hobby with a big bankroll, you still got to have patience, because it's going to take years to build. And the guys you see now, the successful guys like him and Ozzy and Justin, everybody, these are seeds that were planted 15 plus years ago. This didn't happen overnight. So that's what people got to understand. It just takes a long time to get into, to build these projects, Ozzy made a really good analogy a few years ago in Daytona. He was set up next to me, super nice guy, very humble. And we were talking to a younger guy, Robbie, who actually I'm wearing a shirt today. I told him I'd wear a shirt for him, but Ozzy said it's like planting trees, and when they grow, eventually they're going to produce for you. And it was a perfect analogy. And he's right. Once you get to that point, like you said, the holdbacks to me are key. We held back quite a bit this year because we just had some good odds. So I decided to take advantage of that, hold them back. But to me, that's where you can really get ahead, is hold back your key animals, select those back, and then, move on from there. But I agree with you 100%.
So, it's crazy because you have a bunch of species currently that you work with that are just like not as out there as you put your other stuff. Like you have a lot of behind the scenes shit going on right now. Is that right?
Yeah, we work with a lot of things. I've always been a multi-species keeper. I've always had a lot of stuff. We do keep like a small group of redfoots just kind of for fun. I've got some Cribos.
I love those.
I like it. They're cool. Redfoots are great. Small. I love redfoots. Got a few of those. I do like Cribos. We've got some black tail and yellowtail Cribos. Nothing like a 9-foot colubrid to keep you on your toes, because those things can be a little active sometimes. But have those. I got some Angolan pythons. A couple black-headed pythons, and we do have a group of Bowen's pythons we're working with. So yeah, trying to work on some different projects.
All right. Well, let's not get ahead of ourselves. We're going to get to the Bolins, but let's kind of talk about the more of the empire of the ball pythons that you've been building since 2000. When did you get that albino and that
early 2004? Yeah, 2004 when I bought that snake. Yeah, those two snakes. Yep.
I'm always curious on what people's route were in those early days, because they're so like it was. I mean, normals were going for $1 a gram around that time, right? Like there was weird, right? So like, what projects? I mean, other than the albino, right? Like, what was the next project you ventured to that really helped, like really leveled you up to the next one? You know what I mean?
It's funny because like I had to sit on the sidelines like a lot of people, because like you said, I mean, Mojaves were $10,000, bumblebees were $17,000. If you could find an albino pied, it was $20,000. And I didn't really have that kind of money to invest. So you're right. I started off with those, but I always felt like the recessives were the way to go. I didn't want to get in back then. I mean, you remember there was some crazy numbers going around with the codom stuff and a lot of stuff. I knew early on people were using ultrasounds, and I kind of had an idea. A lot of stuff was being produced pretty quickly. So I kind of stayed away from that and always decided just to stick with recessives. And, as I made a little bit of money, then I'd jump into the pieds and then the clowns, just kind of keep working up. I always loved lavender. It was always one of my favorites. I couldn't afford one at the time. I had to buy I started with a het male. I bought from, I think it was Brandon Bokey out of Texas, cool guy. And I bought that het male for $700, bred it to big normals I had, kept all those heads back, bred them back. and eventually created a nice group of females, you know. So it took me a while, but I always try to stick to the recessive stuff. My stuff's all recessive based for the most part, you know. We do have some other like GHI. I love GHI. We have it in, of course, lavender and hypo and ultramel, things like that too, you know. But
how far back does the GHI game go for you? I'm so curious.
I'm trying to think when I got that GHI.
How much was it, if you recall?
When I did a deal with Matt, and at the time I bought a pastel GHI and we did a cash trade and it was right around $6,000. So it was half and half, you know, because I didn't have all that money. So he was really cool. And at the time we were producing a lot of crystals, you know, at the time. So he wanted those. Right. We did a great deal, met at a parking lot. So they were right around $6,000 mark. That one, you know, paid off good for me in the long run. Other things took a little bit longer. When I bought my first albino pied, I think I spent $4,000 for it, and it didn't breed at all for the first 2 years, you know, and I had double het females there and nothing. So eventually he did the third year. And when he did, we produced, I think, 9 that first year. So it worked out in the long run, but it took a little while because that's the only male that I had, which taught me another lesson about having a backup male. Don't let your whole season or that group rely on just one female or one male. Always have a backup male so you get something out of it. Yeah, I learned that lesson the hard way that year anyway.
But what's the most common problem you run into when just going with one male? Like him just stopping after a while, or what's? I mean, like, because you're right, backup doesn't hurt. But like with your experience, what are some things you ran into by just running with one male?
Well, like with that one male, I assumed he was going to breed. He was up to size and he would definitely have the time. He just didn't breed. So, I lost out. But if they're breeding consistently, then I feel a little bit more comfortable. But it just depends. Like my lavender project, I have a lot of females for that. And I've got like an OD yellow belly leopard lab male first year, and he's breeding like a champ. But I'm still afraid to get rid of the het just in case he shuts down. I'm just starting my breeding season. So I feel comfortable after February or March. If they breed consistently, then I'll move off with another male. But I still like to have a backup just because I don't want to miss out. And I don't have a lot of different things, but I have a lot of the same things. So like we'll do a lot of lavender stuff this year. But I always like to have a male as close in, I guess, genetic potential as my primary breeding male, just to have as that backup, just in case they shut down, or if, they start to lose some weight, then I'll just shift them out of the breeding group altogether and use another male. I like to do that a lot too.
So I'm curious, George, back then, did you do much different than you do now? And when I say like with your breeding regiments, like your temps, like the, as far as ambient and all that, like, have you been running the same shit you've been running for a while, or have you been switching things up throughout the last
few years? Things I have switched up. I used to have a different schedule. I would always start breeding in like November. Now I start here in Florida in September, and we'll get fronts, and not even really cold fronts, just storm fronts. And I've noticed last year it made a big difference because we had more clutches last year than we ever did. So I tend to start a little earlier and I breed a little bit later. I used to shut down in March, April. This year I bred through most of the summer, and we picked up a lot of late clutches like that. In fact, just turned off my incubator about a week ago. So my incubator ran about 9 months last year, all my incubators. So I'm doing that differently. I'm strictly ambient. I have no thermostats. Everything's 82 to 85. So I've been running ambient temps a lot. And here in Florida, I'll open up my windows sometimes to let fresh air out. Yeah, it's great. I mean, where I'm at, it works for me. It may not work for somebody out in the Midwest, but it works good for me here.
I'm in the second best climate in the country, and that's San Diego.
There you go.
What beats us is you guys. What beats us that you guys have is the humidity. Your guys' humidity is just like. You don't got to do shit. Like literally,
no,
like
you really don't.
Yeah,
no,
awesome.
Even in like January, February, I have some big roll around gray Rubbermaid cans, and I'll just fill them up with water and move them in the building, and that's enough just to add a little humidity. But we never have shed problems. It's really good where we're at. We're lucky, So, but that's one thing I have done differently. I extended my breeding season now to like I said, almost all year, and then all 4 events happen at the same time. We're getting eggs being laid, eggs hatching, breeding, and all the same week now, So it's my season is definitely kind of overlapped itself, I guess you could say.
Right. So let me ask you this, George. Other than the day temps you just said, what do you do at night? Do you do anything? Does it naturally go down, or what do you do for nighttime?
I just drop it down to about 82. That's about it. So 82 to 85. Yeah. And it'll stay like
room's always at least at 82 is what you're saying.
Yeah. Usually I don't get any cooler than 82. Even here in Florida, I mean, if we get a cold night in the 40s, I've got enough heat in there. 82 to 85, pretty much year round. Yeah. For the most part. Yeah. And so, it's pretty simple.
I mean, I've had plenty of breeders. Like I've had breeders in Canada, like Corey Woods. Shout out to Corey Woods. I've had Corey Woods on here who like, and I don't think he deliberately did that. He normally drops a little bit, but he deliberately didn't mean to drop it this low. But his shit went down to the 50s for like a week.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and like he was concerned, but he actually had like one of the best seasons ever.
Yeah.
But I'm just curious. Like I was wondering, are you somebody who drops like the temps down to the 70s or even 60s? Because chondro breeders do that. Like, you know what I mean? Like there's certain species that can handle that. You know what I mean? So I was just curious what, you know, I can tell you what's always worked for my ball pythons for the most part is, you know, nothing under set, you know, I mean, excuse me, nothing under like 80. You know what I mean? Like my room for the most part is consistently 80, and then naturally, like what you do, it'll get up to 84, 86, 87. The hottest we'll ever get is like 90. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And that's for like, you know, probably 2-3 hours of the day, and then it drops back down. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, you know, you know, but then like here I have in this room, right? This room, I wake up in the morning, this room's like 68 degrees. And wow. I have Boega in here. I have chondros. I have emeralds. So, I mean, I don't know. That's why it's like, I feel like you can get away with fucking dropping temps if you want to with ball pythons, but it's like whatever works for you. You know what I mean?
Right. Right. And like my system works for me here. Other places it may be a little bit different, but yeah, I'm you know, pretty right around 82 to 85 pretty consistently. The baby room I'll keep just a bump warmer, a little bit warmer, but for the most part, nothing really out of the ordinary. You know, like I said, have pretty mild temps here anyway, so it's not that difficult to maintain that.
So in the beginning of you producing, right? First off, George, I have to ask, like, when you got into the ball python game, was it straight investment mindset, or was it just like, oh, let me just dabble and fuck around? Like, what was it for you in the beginning?
I think it was a little bit of both. I mean, I wanted to get back into reptiles. I loved doing it. I loved hatching out babies, and I didn't care what I was hatching. I still, even to this day, even though there's not a lot of value in it, I still hatch out albino ball pythons. I still like doing that. So it was a little bit of both. You know, I didn't know how big I wanted to go at first, just kind of see how the market was going to go. But I knew I wanted to get back into ball pythons and get back into breeding snakes again. So probably a little bit of both, you know. And then as time went on, I realized, okay, I'm having success. And then, you know, so let me see if I can go a little bit more and a little bit bigger. So that's kind of what we did. Kind of slowly grew into where we are right now. And I think right now I'm topped off as far as, you know, where I want to be with the breeding group. But yeah, it was a little bit of both, I think you could say.
Now, I mean, when did you actually develop the brand? You know, so George MD Reptiles, like the logo. By the way, man, I do give credit when it's earned when it comes to like branding and shit like that, because I mean, I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but I fucking love my logo, and I do love like Cabelkas. I love fucking Miguel shit, like people who really put their time and shit into their logo. So yours is really sick, by the way. I gotta say, I give you props on this logo. But like, when did you start putting like time and effort into your brand and like starting marketing yourself and whatnot?
That's a good question. It was a few years ago, and I you know, I'm not a marketing expert, obviously, so I was lacking there, and I knew that. So a friend of mine, he suggested 99 Designs, and it's a great concept. And I know other people that I've turned on to that in this similar situation I was in. They've had great results with it, you know, because I'm not a marketing expert. So you basically build a portfolio with them, you give them some ideas, and they start shooting you all these different options. And we refined it down. And this one person, when I first saw that, I'm like, okay, we're close. That's not at all what I was thinking. I was thinking something completely different. But when I saw that, I'm like, okay, it's simple, it's clean. I kind of like it, you know, it's exactly what I was looking for. So we made a few tweaks. And so really it wasn't all me. I mean, all I did was go, yes, click and say, that's the one I like. But I knew I didn't have, you know, the knowledge to build that, but I knew I had to find somebody that could do it for me. And that's what I liked about 99 Designs, because it brings in designers from all over the world to help you with a logo. So it was about 3 or 4 years ago. I was like, you know, if I need to start kind of, you know, being a little bit more serious about it. And that's when I decided to build that brand and have a logo, and, you know, everything in our show stuff all matches, you know, with our table throws and everything. So I was happy that I did that route, and they were great to deal with.
When did you start your Instagram?
Oh, God, when was that? I would say about 3 years ago, 3-4 years ago. Yeah, I'm not on it enough. I know my niece gets on me about posting more, but I try to just be selective on there on what we post. You know, try to pick some good looking animals if we have them, you know, to put up there. But
this is so sick. Cool. This is the kind of, and dude, you've had shit like this for a while. Like, you produced a GHI hypo like at this quality level for like how long ago? When was your first GHI hypo produced?
Oh God, I can't remember
Or
now. It
not
was a
GHI,
while ago.
GHI Mojave. My bad. This is GHI Mojave,
Yeah, yeah.
right?
Yeah, those are GHI Mojaves. It was a while. I mean, it was had to be at least, I don't know, maybe 5 to 7 years ago. We started
I'm
producing
saying.
those. I've always liked those.
But these are the picks. Like this is the stuff people always like say, like, come and look at my collection. They go, wow, you got like, you're really into GHI. This is the reason why I got into GHI, because of shit like this. Like, and
Thanks.
I remember seeing stuff from your Facebook, because I found you on Facebook before I found you on Instagram.
Okay.
I think I just started following you this year on Instagram, to be honest. I think when I started like pursuing you to get on the podcast, when I found out that you had Instagram. But anyways, dude, I got to give you so much props on your GHI game, bro, because
Thanks, man.
you, Chris Cercery, like are the two big pinnacle like reasons why I fucking go so hard with GHI. But like the dark stuff, like this stuff right here, you know what I mean? So yeah, props to you on
I'm a
that,
big
bro.
fan too. Yeah, I like him. I'm a big fan of GHI. I've always loved it. Oh, that hypo. Yeah, that was a hypo. And the hypos, as you know, as they age, they just get better. They turn this really cool blue color. I'm always going to like that combo. I don't care what they're worth. I still like hatching them. They're still fun to look at. I've still got some big adult females that I like to have in the collection. So that's just one of those combos. It's always kind of, I guess, close to me because it's something that I always want to produce. I was really happy when I made my first few, and that's something I'll probably always try to produce no matter what. I just enjoy hatching those guys out, but. Yeah, I like GHI at any level. I like it in lavender. We've done some lavender stuff, of course, hypos. We've done some other stuff. Axanthic. We've done some Axanthic GHIs this year. GHI Mojave Axanthic. So I like GHI. I think it brings a lot to the table, with anything. So still one of my favorite genes to work with.
Now let me ask you this: the big popular thing with GHI Mojaves, GHI Mojave hypos, whenever I post them, especially when they're in shed, is people can't believe how blue they look, right?
Yeah.
So to really get to the most realistic bluish color from this route, where would you go? Like personally, if you wanted to try to create something bluer than this, if you even could, what would you put in there?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if making it, darker, like adding in maybe yellow belly. I know my friend Dale from Constricted Reptiles, he's made some really nice GHI Mojave yellow bellies, and they are black. I mean, they look like oil when they come out of the egg. So I don't know if that would make it more blue. I know we're trying to work on making one because I got one from him just to run into that. It's going to take me years. But yeah, I mean, and as they age, they still stay that cool blue gray. We bring them to shows a lot of times in babies. And it's funny because when you watch people walk, the tables, look at the animals, they key on certain animals. And there's been times when we've had dreamsicles and ultramel pies and other cool combos, but seems like GHI Mojave hypos are something that everybody stops and looks at, just because they're so unique and they have that blue-gray color, but as far as making it more blue, I don't know. I've been trying to think about that myself, actually. So I'll maybe trying to make them darker would make them more blue with the hypo. I'm not 100% sure, but definitely fun to work with. And there's still a lot to be done with that, I think.
My next question regarding the GHI hypo is what recessive would you like want to put into something like this if it was your choice?
Honestly, I think that would work well with pied. We do have some GHI pied combos we made this year. I don't have hypo in them, but if you could retain that color and mimic that color in a pied, because GHI holds pattern pretty well. We did some GHI yellow belly pieds and some GHI inchy pieds this year. And looking at those animals, I think it would work. That would be a pretty cool route to go. So I think hypopide would be really cool with that, if it would work the way we think it does. So that's something that's been on my mind about trying that with pieds.
Is there anything just like this with DG in it? Is there any GHI Mojave hypo DG yet? That would be
I don't think so. I know people are making, a DG, of course, Mojaves and GHI stuff. So I'm not sure if they've gotten that far. I don't know. But I had a conversation recently at a show, and that was brought up about the DG. Would that make it more blue? And we started, my mind was spinning about it. Like, it might, because I've got some DG stuff. So that could be a route too, So that was a little
I was kind of confused with Desert Ghost because, Desert Ghost is fire by all means, right?
Yeah.
But like there's always like, Desert Ghost isn't this Desert Ghost with just Desert Ghost, So every time I would see Desert Ghost like this, I would kind of think, is this just a Desert Ghost? But I feel like Desert Ghost is one of those damn recessives that it's still to this day, even with Will Morrow's fucking stacking what he stacks, it's so untapped still. Like Desert Ghost, oh man, I'm very excited for Desert Ghost.
Yeah,
but with that being said, what's your big long-term game with Desert Ghost with what you have going on right now with your projects?
My biggest project with Desert Ghost, well, of course, Desert Ghost Clown, but the biggest one is going to be combining that with VPI Xanthic. We had lucky. Yeah, that's where we're going with it. We got some pieces together this year that are going to help. We hatched out some nice Xanthic clowns, so I got those set aside. And then I picked up a nice pastel Desert Ghost Het VPI from Jake Milbrat. Hopefully I pronounced his name right. But so I've got that snake to work into, because I think if you added VPI in an animal like that, I think it'd be really spectacular looking. So that's my big long-term goal with Desert Ghost, is to get it into the VPI Xanthic stuff. I think that's going to be a big winner. The few combos I've seen have been spectacular. I know Jake's made some really nice animals, and a few other people have too, but I know his are really nice. So that's my next move with the Desert Ghost stuff, is getting as much VPI into those combos as I possibly can.
And how long ago did you get into the Desert Ghost game? Like, how long have you been how long has it been a part of your mix?
This was actually my first year hatching Desert Ghost. We bought some females. I handpicked some females about 3 years ago, raised them up. It did great. And then I got a nice male leopard, pastel leopard DG from Jake. And so this was our first year. So I really only been really working with those guys about 3 years now, but I love them. They get better with age. And I don't really think there's much you can put into them that won't make them better. I mean, they just seem to make everything better at this point in some way. So, that's the super version.
Oh my God. That's sick.
Came out pretty cool. We did 3. The other 2 were a little washed out, but it's funny because that one came in a clutch with another one that was washed out, but that one had really crisp pattern. I like that one. Almost has like a puzzle look to it. So I'm hoping we can produce more of those. So that's the difference between that one and the one you just showed. The one before was just a single gene pastel. Of course, this is the super. So yeah, it came out pretty funky. It was a little female. So I'm going to raise her up to see how she matures. Hopefully she retains that, vividness as she gets older. So that was a cool snake to hatch.
That's sick. Look at this thing. This clown is unbelievable right here. So Ultramel Clown. So this is a male that you picked up from TJ at Exotics Reptiles RS.
Yeah, cool guy. First time I've ever dealt with TJ. Yeah, thanks. He had a nice snake, and I saw it. I was looking for one. It popped up. I didn't know him. A few people I did talk to did know him and spoke highly of him. Everything went really smooth. Turned out to be a really great animal, real healthy, almost 200 grams. So I was real happy to add that male in there, because I've got some other Ultramel stuff that I want to work into that. And we've got some OD Clown stuff too, OD Clown Pie stuff that I want to work into that too. So yeah, I was real happy to add that male. That was something I was really looking for this year. So I was pretty happy with him.
Do you know whose Ultramel Clown game is ridiculous? Is Marshall Mendez.
He does have some nice stuff. Yeah, I did reach out to him too, and he didn't have anything available at the time. And then this one popped up, and I felt like I was really lucky. But yeah, he does have some really incredible animals. I agree.
Yeah, he's just one of those breeders. He's like, once it's out, it's gone. You know what I mean? Like if it is available, like he has people tugging on his shirt, fucking for shit that hasn't even eaten yet. You know what I mean? That's a good problem to have, and I'm sure you have that. I'm sure people are up on your bumper too when it comes to your projects. Because we haven't even tapped into most of the fire shit that you have. Like, dude, right? What I'm tripping out is this right here, because this is just like. This is nuts right here. What is this?
This was just a little combination. It was a post I made. It was kind of fun. It was like, just kind of like a little shout out to all the double het females. And in a way, it had a serious tone to it, because every one of these snakes came from a double het female, so they're definitely worth having. Some people may not want to invest the time into raising them up, but there was Ultramel Pieds and Xanthic Clowns and the Dreamsicles and, a little bit of everything, but they all came from double het females, so they're definitely worth hanging on to. They can break your heart sometimes with the odds, but most cases, I think they're worth hanging on to and keeping. So yeah, they all came from double het females that we had saved and we've had for years. So yeah, it was kind of like a little thank you to the double het female gods, I guess.
So since we're on the subject of double recessive, triple recessive projects, like I feel a lot of people who don't, like the ones who are so keen on getting ahead of the game, you know what I mean? And wanting, like, who don't have too much tenured in this, but then they come and learn a lot of shit and they're like, fuck, I want to jump into stuff. They invest a lot of double het projects. I mean, what would be your advice, or maybe your input for anyone who's wanting to like jump, not really jump, but get as fast as a head start as they can on a double recessive projects, but without shooting themselves in the foot and just investing in stuff where it's just double recessive projects. Like, where do you find the happy medium at, in your opinion?
I mean, if you're going to go after double recessives, I mean, just make sure it's, they're hard to make, but, try to buy in at the highest level you can, because you're just saving yourself time. If you can, and even triple recessives, like we're going to try to do some triple recessive stuff, but I'm going to kind of wait and do, like Desert Ghost pied to VPI xanthic pied and at least produce visuals that are double head. So you can save yourself some time by doing that if you can get into it, at that point. But, just kind of, I'd say maybe be a little careful about the double recessive that you get into, because some are going to be really hard to make. And just try to maybe look ahead and kind of maybe assume what they may look like, like there's some things I probably won't work with double recessives, but I mean, we do a lot of double recessive. That's what I'm mainly doing that. And then we're working into triples too. I would say try to buy in at the highest level you can and getting visuals, and you're just going to save yourself time down the road. If you can do that, that'd be my advice if you can do it.
All right. Well, my advice is we stay on your page, because I'm not done, because you
All right,
have
man.
so much heat, bro. This is sick. Look at this right here. So here we have a Enchi Firefly Clown.
Yes. I believe the one might be even blade. I had blade in the mix too. So yeah,
Nice.
I'm pretty sure the one on the left is, just because it's so broken up. We made a couple last year and they stayed pretty clean as they aged. One I still have, the other one is gone, but yeah, they were really cool snakes. I like catching those. We only hatch a few of those a year. But yeah, I like those. I think, adding either a xanthic into that or Desert Ghost, it's just, you can't go wrong. I mean, there's going to be really great animals, just adding those genes into them too, so as cool as they look, I think they can look better, with other genes too. So I think that's good females to have around. Yeah. Thanks.
So you only hatched a couple of these this year, you said?
Yeah, on those. We did some other clown pairings, but yeah, they're kind of hard to make, even for me. I mean, we have some big pastel blade clown females, and I had an Enchi fly male, and just odds. You still maybe only get one or two here or there. We don't make a lot of them like that. Usually every year, just like one or two maybe, because they're kind of hard to make like that. We have made banana versions of them too a few years ago, and those look really cool as babies. They lose a little bit as they age, like most banana stuff, but these stay pretty clean as they age. They still look pretty good as adults.
What's the deal? And I'm going to use Marshall as an example, because I was tripping out when I was looking at all his Ultramel Clown stuff. I was like, dude, there's it's super clean. I was like, the sides are clean. He's like, yeah, there's probably blade in there. And I'm like, well, what do you mean probably blade? You should fucking there is blade in here, because how clean it looks. But I feel like a lot of people aren't too they don't give a shit about the blade almost. It's they're just I think it could be in there. I don't know. But I feel like nobody is really too happy to say that there's blade in their clown. I don't get it. What am I missing?
I don't know. I like it. We got into it years ago, and I think too a lot of it had already been out there. Because Sean was selling really reduced clowns before I think he really nailed down the blade. And I talked to him years ago because I got a super blade from him just so I would know what I'm producing is 100% blade. And I still like them. I mean, I think they're still cool. Even with Enchi and blade, they make some pretty cool animals. So. But I know some people may not be 100% sure because, like I said, that reduced clown stuff has been out there for years. So I think some of it can be a little diluted. It's kind of hard to tell, but I still we have some specific blade girls, real clean, we use for certain projects. We tried some different projects this year with some OD yellow belly clown stuff to see how because OD yellow belly fire clowns, are usually pretty clean. So I ran into some blade clowns this year just to see what's going to happen. But I like them, I guess maybe if you want a busier clown, you may not want the blade or Enchi in it,
right.
Some of the spot nose stuff. Cause I've seen some spot nose.
I love the clean shit, bro. The clean clowns to me are just smack. I'm sorry. And by the way, George, I knew you were special, right? But fuck, Marcus Jane, really? Here is somebody who I don't know last time. Marcus, I know you're busy, but I don't know the last time he's ever tapped into the live chats. But we're literally awesome. Giving us the celebrity appearance award will go to Marcus Jane Reptiles. Thank you so much for tapping in. But this is sick as fuck right here. This is huge, man.
That's cool, man. I like him. He just reached out to me the other day about a snake too, and I got to get back with him. So I'm sorry if you're listening. I haven't had time, but I'll get back with you on those pictures you asked for. So
you're welcome, Marcus. This is how I delegate. I facilitate things. This is all happening here on the trap. But to continue back on the blade topic, man, putting blade back into blade makes a more intense blade, meaning more reduced stuff, right? Makes it even more finer and cleaner, correct?
Yeah, a lot cleaner. Yep. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Real clean, real fine lines. It's similar to Enchi in a way, like a super Enchi. So we've done some Enchi blade stuff, and some of the Enchi blade clowns, I think there's some on my Instagram further down from a couple of years ago. They were beautiful. I mean, a lot of people really seem to like those. So I like that combo. I'm still playing with it a little bit. I don't know if the double super form would look like. I mean, I'm sure it'd be really reduced, so I thought about maybe trying to make one just to see what it would look like with Enchi, super Enchi, super blade, just to see what it would look like. So I don't know, still on the back burner, I think, with that one though.
Shall we take a walk down memory lane real quick? Because I want to tell you my relationship with Blade. You want to hear about it?
Let's do it.
All right. So Chris Sursery, right? You know, we were just talking about Chris.
Yeah.
So Chris sold me back then was supposed to be a pastel 100% het clown. And I got it. And, you know, as I was raising it up, taking pictures, he hit me up and he said, "Hey, dude, I'm pretty sure that snake has Blade in it." And I'm like, "Really?" And I had no idea what Blade was at the time. I was like a fucking noob, but I was all happy. So I started posting my pictures saying pastel Blade, 100% het clown. I was getting people hitting me up. Well, actually, it wasn't too many people, just a small group of people hitting me up saying, "Hey, man, like, you know, where'd you get that snake from?" And I'm like, "I got it from Chris Sursery." None of his stuff has Blade in it, man. Like, you got to understand, like, none of his stuff has Blade. You know, he's lying to people. And I'm like, what? Like, why would he lie? So I was really confused by that, right? But I was just like, I believed in Chris, you know. So I was like, I'm gonna fucking raise this thing up, and I raised it up and had a Blade. I had a Blade male clown. So I had Blade male clown, put it to the pastel Blade 100% het clown, and sure enough, I produced like the fucking most cleanest looking, like the finest line going down all the way down the dorsal. So I flipped out. Like, I couldn't believe it. You know what I mean? But because of that, like, and this is what, 2019, like almost a lot of my shit has Blade in it. So a lot of my clown stuff that I produce, unless I had some leopard stuff that had some spots, but a lot of the Blade going back into Blade just makes everything fucking clean and reduced. And that's a lot of my stuff because of Chris Sursery, who in fact has Blade in his collection. You know what I mean? Like, it's crazy.
And a lot of people do. I think a lot of people were in your shoes. You know, they got these really produced clowns, and as they paired them together, okay, I probably have that in there. You know, so it's definitely out there. But no, that's cool that you ended up with that. And it does vary a bit. You know, I know, like I said, well, I have a super, so I know everything I'm producing is Blade. So I do see some variations in it, but you can usually pick it out for the most part. But no, I like it. I still work with it. You know, I still try making some super stuff, and I want to see how it impacts, other combos as well. So yeah, I definitely like it. I know even like the banana Blade stuff, they seem to be a little darker, a little bit more rich because their color tones seem to be a little bit different. But yeah, I still have had those for a long time. I know I bought my original male from Sean years ago. I paid a lot of money for that guy, but he's made some really cool animals. I saved all those females back. I still have all that stuff just to have, so yeah, I like that stuff too.
Well, since we're on this topic of Blade, I do want to say real quick, hold on, let me see if I can pull it up, because my buddy Socrates, he has a daughter by the name of by the name of Ariana. She goes by Snake Master Exotics, but she produced, let me tell you the pairing. Okay. The pairing was a pastel banana, 100% het clown to a banana clown. Okay. That was the pairing. And from what my buddy told me. And so he showed me like what he hatched out, and he showed me one of these. So I'm going to show you what came out. And I was like, well, what the fuck is this? Cause keep in mind, I'm not too like experienced at all with super bananas whatsoever. You know what I mean? So shout out to Austin and Christian at Morphin Endorphins for helping me out. But I was under the impression, just because how clean this looked, that this was a super banana, but it's not, because super bananas have no orange at all. Right. It's just purple. But it was tripping me out because I was researching so many banana clowns, and I was like, this is not a banana clown. I'm sorry. I was very convinced that this was not just a banana clown. And then the homie Austin was like, hey, dude, show me the picture of the parents. And sure enough, Austin, I don't know if you know who Austin is from Mutation Creation. Like, he works with Billy. Okay. He's like a fucking more genius. But right away, like, he was able to point that the male banana clown did in fact have Blade in it. Yeah. And the reason why this thing looks so goddamn clean is not because it's a super banana, because it's not a super banana. It's a fucking Blade banana clown. But that's a clean ass. I will say, shout out to an 6-year-old who produced this. Okay. She bought this animal when she turned 4 years old. She raised it and she produced this like on her own. So props.
That's awesome, man. And that's one thing I like about this hobby now. A 6-year-old kid, 10-year-old kid in a spare bedroom can shake things up and make some really cool animals. That wasn't possible 15 or 20 years ago. It just wasn't. No. But you can do that now. I mean, these kids can, and we see that a lot at shows. We sell a lot of this stuff to parents and kids that are working on projects together. It's more fun than, planting a garden. They can actually produce cool animals. So we see a lot of that family involvement with these breedings now. And that's the cool thing about it. A kid can do that and make something really amazing. they couldn't do that 15 or 20 years ago. You needed a lot of money to do that, but now it's possible, and still make something that very few people have made. So that's what's really exciting about it.
She's not your typical kid, I will tell you that. she's
Cool.
holding a $17,000 basin in her hand like it's like it's nothing. She's not scared of anything, bro. Like she will pick up anything. Like I've seen it in person.
Yeah,
this kid just has
awesome.
it. She just has it in her. You know what I mean? And
yeah.
and a lot of people who like, for instance, if I had a kid and I would really hope they would like animals, but some kids just don't like animals. Like some kids are just like it. You know what I mean? She's naturally a fucking animal lover, and you could just sense that with kids. And
that's awesome.
It's just something to see in person. But
yeah,
either way, like I said, it's nothing. Like I said, the blade. I feel like blades in a lot of people's collections, and people just don't know it, or maybe even care. Because I was like, "Yo, Marshall, do you tell people that this is a Ultramel blade clown?" He goes, "No." I'm like, "What? Well, I mean, why wouldn't you want to?" Like, I don't know.
Yeah,
Marshall, I love you, bro. I know you know what you're doing.
Yeah. No, but you're right. It's out there. It's been out there for a while. Like I said, Sean was making some really reduced stuff years ago. And then I think when he did started making supers, kind of, realized what was going on with that gene. So it's definitely out there. I mean, there's no doubt about it. I do like it too. Like I said, we combine it with other combos, and then there's sometimes we just keep it out of certain combos, but no, they definitely make things better. I agree.
Now, when I was on the phone, Christian from Morphin Endorphins actually called me, and he explained how like a lot of the super banana clowns that he's worked with are like terrible eaters, like really bad eaters. Have you ever dealt with that? Have you worked with any super banana clowns? Or have you ever worked with anything that you've produced that turned out just not to be a good eater?
No, honestly, no. We don't have any super banana clowns. I do have a super banana pied, and it's normal. I haven't any feeding issues with that. But no, I really haven't hatched anything that I can say was like honestly a picky feeder. Occasionally we'll get a clutch, and some of the clutch will just be naturally a picky feeders for whatever reason. We had one pied clutch this year, and it had a cyst feed. I think 5 out of the 7 babies. They all took off and they were fine, but that was kind of specific to one clutch. But as far as one specific thing being a problem feeder, no. Anything clowns, typically banana stuff, usually eats pretty well and grows fast from what I've seen. Same thing with clowns. There are some quirks I've noticed with other things, that we have, but as far as the super bananas, like I said, I've never owned one, so I'm not 100% sure on them.
Right. Now, as far as your hatchings go, I'm curious, at what point do you go the assist feed route? Like when do you decide, okay, I need to put a meal down this snake's throat and, not wait?
Yeah, I usually give it about 4 weeks. And then after that 4th week, if they don't show any interest, then I'll step in and then we'll do an assist feed. And we've had great success with it. I mean, this year, we hatched out quite a few babies this year. And I think we only had a couple that just would not do anything. But for the most part, we'll step in at around 4 weeks. I'll set them aside. It also too depends on their size when they hatch. If they were a little bit smaller, I might intervene a little earlier. But we try to keep it as stress-free as possible. Use a really small meal, pre-killed. We'll wet it first and just kind of slowly put it down there, set it down, leave it. Usually after the 3rd or 4th assist feed, they usually take off on their own. I'll switch them over to something live that's small so they can find it easy. It doesn't bounce around too much to scare them. So that's what I do. It usually works really well for us. It's rare that we have something that just doesn't make it. But we had a few this year that didn't, just because they just didn't want to eat at all, even assist feed wise. But it's worked pretty well for me.
What do you like to assist feed? Like, what do you like to use to assist feed them?
As far as food items, we'll use like small fuzzy mice, and then I'll use curd hemostats, and that works really well. So that's one of the favorite things to use, and they go down pretty easy. Like I said, it's not difficult for them to finish off by themselves. I'll put them in, and I'll walk away and just leave them alone and turn the lights off in the building. The last thing I do before I leave the building is I'll do my assist feeds, click off the light in the baby room, then walk out and just leave them alone. And like I said, they never usually regurgitate. It usually stays down, and usually a few meals, it seems like it gets that, GI tract moving, and it kind of gets them clicking, and they usually start feeding on their own, shortly after that.
Now, your first meal you offer your hatchling is what? Like any hatchling first meal?
Yeah, I usually go with like little fuzzy mice. I don't, people call them like popcorn mice where they're hopping around. It depends on the size. We have this year, some 90-gram babies that came out, and I'll start them off in a little bit bigger mouse. And usually when they get around 120 to 50 grams, then I'll start doing little fuzzy rats. I try to get a little bit of size on them first. But I usually always start with little fuzzy mice, keep it simple, let them get consistent, not be afraid, not be shy. And that works well for me. We do all live too, all live feeding on the baby stuff.
I'm going against my own rules, which I always preach. Don't fucking change anything that works for you. And
Yeah.
what's worked for me this entire time is a hopper every like the first 2-3 meals. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Just because I just for that initial like because I just feel like they're gonna eat it for sure. You
Yeah.
know, 9 out of 10 times.
Yeah.
But I just had somebody on who only fucking goes rats. Like the first meal is a rat fuzzy pup, and I'm like, what? And like has success like of them taking it down all the time. Now just so you know, like this year I had a couple more clutches than I did last year, but I actually did have a couple picky eaters this year. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So I was just like, where was I going with that? My fucking mind just playing.
But no, I mean, I had a friend that raised rodents.
The rodents. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. My God, my
Yeah.
mind just went.
Yeah.
No, but I'm just saying. I was thinking, okay, well then maybe I should just offer a rat for the first time, or just to see. But I don't know. I just feel like at the end of the day, it's just a numbers game.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Like, and I don't want to stress them out too much. I know some will. I mean, I got friends that feed those right off the bat, and they will eat them. I just like to start them off kind of slow, kind of smaller meals, and then slowly, gradually build them up to rats. Like I said, around 120 grams, I'll start feeding them little fuzzy rats, and then that's it. From that moment on, they should be on those the rest of their lives. So, but yeah, that's how it works good for me. You don't have any problems like that at all. It works really well.
Now let's talk about moving up the size for your meals with your snakes as they get bigger. So like for instance, as they're approaching breeding season, right? Like your adult female, like let's talk an adult female. What is she on every week or bi-week, wherever you feed your?
I feed every week. I offer all of them one small rat. Every weaned off
All
rat.
smalls, every small.
Yeah. Well, we do some bigger ones. I have some big girls. I got some girls over 3,000 grams. So I'll give them like a medium. I got some big girls, some old school stuff I've had for years. So, but yeah, I usually offer food every week. And then, then as breeding season, like right now, some of them are naturally already going off feed, as they're pairing. And I'll look at them if they're look like they're building follicles. I won't even offer them, food for the most part. I start slowing down. Thank God my feed bill's getting kind of expensive, but I'll start slowing down this time of year on the big stuff. And they naturally slow down just because the season's coming. But
Right.
if they don't look like they're gaining the weight they should have, if they lost a lot, during egg laying, I'll just hold off and maybe not even pair them that year, or just wait till later in the season until they feel like they have good enough weight to, to do it again. But
And I mean, I've had females lay this I think like the third year in a row. I mean, you've had good success having year after year after year after year, and with that female, like if you could think about the female that's the most consistent for you, as soon as she lays her clutch, how long typically do you pair that girl up again from like, and you could just ballpark like the month range as far as what you know.
What I do is like I mark down all my breedings every time I put in there, and then I look at the ovulation. And I'm not using an ultrasound, so like I know like some of these girls, I know they're dialed in. I know don't even breed them until January because they do this. They're consistent. They go the same time every year. So it is once a year, and usually it's going to be at least 10 to 12 months. But it's almost always right around that 11 or 12 month from the last time I paired them because they're pretty consistent, and I don't want to pair them too early because most cases I'm not going to get the clutch any earlier than I would if I just wait anyway. So, I don't push them too much. Usually it's going to be at least 10 to 11 months, from when they laid last time. And if they have good weight, then I'll start again. I'll just look at my chart, see where I had them last time, look where the ovulation was, and then kind of, adjust accordingly.
So they almost take a year off then.
Almost. Yeah. I mean, they'll take some time off. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So you don't want to go. Okay. I mean, like there's other people who have different, like, some people get them fucking up and going within the first like 6 months or 7 months. You know what I mean? Like, I guess it's like you said, it all depends on their size and whatnot.
Yeah. And when they're good. Yeah. Yep.
Because I've heard Brian Barczyk, I don't mean to cut you off, but Brian Barczyk at a dinner one time even mentioned how ball pythons can lay twice in a year.
Yeah. I've never tried that. I don't know anybody that, personally that's done that. They may in the wild. I don't know. I just know, it takes so much out of them. So I don't know. I mean, I guess
I figured. Yeah, I wouldn't even want to go down that road, but I just figure like how motherfuckers probably do that.
Yeah, I know. I don't know. I don't know if they're doing that in the wild. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know anybody personally who's done it. I know colubrid guys do it a lot, but I don't know about that. I just to me, it seemed like it'd be hard to gain that weight back and then do it again. And then, if you did manage to get a 2 out of 1 year, it's like, what's going to happen the third or fourth year? So I think it would take a lot out of them, so I don't really push them too much at all. Like I got a couple female pieds this year and they're still recovering from eggs they laid a few months ago. And I'll wait a little bit later on them before I even pair them, maybe early springtime, just to make sure they've got enough weight.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, I was told, not told, but like, getting them back like on smaller meals is what some breeders do. Do you just get them back on smalls right as soon as you can, like, or do you get them on or do you offer them on a smaller side as like their first meal since since they fast out like throughout
Yeah.
the pregnancy? So I mean, do you just go right back to smalls?
Yeah, I usually do. I mean, unless they're one of my bigger girls, I will. But yeah, I usually just go right back to the same size. I don't really change anything on that. Because I mean, I don't even pair unless they're a minimum of 15 to 1600 grams anyway. So yeah, I'll just do the same size. Of course, my bigger girls are going to get a bigger rat, but the smaller ones will, keep the smaller rats. So I get a variety of rodents when I get them. So I'll just kind of adjust the rat to the size of the snake for the most part. I don't give a 1500-gram snake a bigger rat. So but that works for me, pretty well. So I just stick to that.
You got an ultrasound?
I don't know. I used one this year. I
Okay.
used one, experimented with a friend of mine. He had one. I went over there. I played around with it. It was interesting. I will get one at some point for some of the other species I've got, the Bolins especially. But no,
Yeah.
I just kind of watched the females and I palpate a little bit. And it's been pretty good for me. I mean, we had our best year ever this year without using one. So, just watch the females. And like I said, I keep a lot of records on pairings on everything. So, I kind of got it fairly dialed in. It's pretty consistent as to when to pair those girls.
I mean, with the ball pythons, if they're gonna go, they're gonna go. Either way, you're gonna be fine. It's not like breeding green trees where you're gonna fucking get your heart shattered and you're gonna cry about it. But
Yeah.
what I gotta say is, I like the anticipation. I like being surprised with the ball pythons. I really do. I feel like it would be more stress if I was like, "Fuck, it's Thursday. I got an ultrasound." You know what I mean? And then I'm like, there I am with my book and just writing down a bunch of numbers where I get it's good to reference, but dude, I reference shit off pictures. You know what I mean? Like, I'll take a picture of an ovulation and then I'll go back the year before, like, go to that picture and be like, what time was that? Or what date was that? Blah, blah, blah. And everything was referred. That's just how I do things. But, a lot of people like to take notes and shit like that, which is cool too. Like, I totally am on the note tip with the chondros, with the neonates and stuff like that, because the shed count and all that stuff does matter. But, at the end of the day, I was just curious, like, how far do you take your, documentation taking down? Like, I mean, are you pretty big with taking down notes? And, it could be anything as far as like when the female was locked to, when she laid or when she shed, post ovulation shed, whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do keep all that, every breeding record. Every time I put that male in with that female, I'll mark when I put him in. If I didn't see that ovulation, then I'll mark it. If I do see it, then I do mark it. I'll mark it green. I use little sticky colors that I get over at the dollar store. They work pretty good. It's pretty kind of old school, but it works for me. I still use 3x5 cards on each tub. But everything is right there in front of me. I can reference all of it in just a matter of seconds. So, but I write when I had the male in there, when I saw the the pairing, when he actually bred, and then I watched the ovulation. So I'll bred her. If I started pairing her in September, she doesn't ovulate until say January. I probably didn't need to start pairing her that early. So I'll switch and start next year a month earlier. It usually works pretty good. I think I can dial it in that way, but I watch all that down, especially the ovulations, and you'd be surprised. You definitely see consistencies in certain girls at certain times. I've got an albino pied female, and she's very consistent. She always gives me the same amount of eggs. I always breed her in September. I'm usually hatching babies by February from her, and that's just when she goes. The first 2 years, I didn't get anything from her because I didn't start pairing her till later, and I was just missing. So I started earlier, and it worked fine. So that's her thing. That's when she goes, and I stick to that with her. And I've got a few like that. They're kind of consistent in their own way, and they start earlier. And that kind of helped me this year because I did something a little differently last year. And that's why I think our clutch count was a lot higher this year than it was, previous years. So I think it made a little bit of a difference because these girls can go at different times. And I know a lot of guys are breeding year round now. I didn't go completely year round. I slowed down in July, but I still picked up a lot of clutches over the summer that I normally wouldn't have gotten because I used to stop, like I said, around March, April. So I learned to just keep pairing a lot of those girls, and eventually a lot of them went.
I'm going 24/7, baby.
I got friends that don't even turn off their incubators these days.
I'm not. I haven't. I'm not.
Yeah.
I did last year. I had to wait. I don't know how long, but I wasn't trying to. But like just because like, I just had shit going later than the year before, and I had to learn some lessons the year before that because I was going off what they did before. So like I would stop pairing. Like I stopped pairing way too soon. So I lost a handful of clutches that I should have got, but I fucked up. But anyways. Yeah. All that shit came super late this year. Like everything arrived like Like I got my first clutch in July. You know what I mean?
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah, and I was like, "What?" Like I couldn't, but like I basically got everything, everything but like 2 clutches I got this year. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So everything came super late as fuck. But then now
Yeah.
I have like all my first time girls already getting locked right now. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So shit's I already shit's moving nonstop over here. Like I still have
Yeah.
2 more clutches to drop before the end of the year. And I think by that time I might have my first ovulation for 2022.
Oh, cool.
So we
Okay.
should
Yeah.
just be moving. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's weird how these seasons go anymore. Like, so I got friends still hatching stuff. Last year we started in February, March. I mean, we had I think almost 20 clutches out by April, which was rare for me. Our June and July was pretty busy. We hatched quite a few clutches in those 2 months, but I was a little earlier this year. I think I know why. A lot of my local friends were a little bit behind me. A lot of people seemed a little bit later this year. My whole season shifted about 2 months early, which was great. We had a lot of animals for Daytona and some other shows, but so it shifted a little earlier for me this year. But they definitely get caught in that little schedule. I know we have the same thing here too, whether it's weather or fronts that move in. I know that can change things too.
Now, I'm considering it more and more, George, just because at some point, like I respect Justin Kabelka and people who go to like, events, like when I say events, like reptile shows, not primarily to sell animals, but they're just going to show off their stuff, like show off their hard work, and people admire that. So like, that's why someday I would love to vend maybe.
Yeah.
But if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do this shit in style. You feel me? And I want it to look clean as fuck. Basically, I want it to look like yours because your shit is, I love it. You know what I mean? Like I said, this goes back to, as far as like your branding and whatnot, but like the clean white displays with the lighting and stuff like that. I feel like people don't understand like how much that attracts people to come to their table. Like I don't have a choice. I walk by it could be fucking leopard geckos. I don't care. I walk by stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I agree. And, something we learned, like I said, I never want to stop learning. And we learned a lesson years ago when I first started vending about some of the buildings. Daytona's great, but some of these buildings that we go into don't have very good lighting. And I learned that lesson a few years ago because right above our tables, a whole bank of lighting didn't work. So it looked awful. I had the white displays, but I didn't have very good lighting. So I found some lighting I liked online, and it seems to work well. A lot of my friends are using those too now, and they work great. But it does help because you just don't want to rely on the venue lights because you never know what you're going to get in some of them. So it does, the white's nice. It is hard to keep clean sometimes. So, that's something I got to keep in mind. But if I was going to vend, I wanted it to look how I want to see things when I go to a show. I want things clean and presentable. I want to be able to see all the animals displayed the right way. Cause I'm like you, I stop and look at a lot of animals, not just ball pythons. And so I kind of knew what I wanted to see. Like I said, the branding part, was something that I didn't really design, but I did choose it from the designers, but we like the way it works. We made a few adjustments here and there. We got some new clamps we made for the lights to lift them up a little bit higher, but it definitely helps with the white alpha dry. It does help the lights pop. And they do look good at the shows. So we kind of got lucky that that was, I think, one of our first shows, but we didn't make a lot of changes after that, a few minor ones, but the lighting was a big thing. I said, I don't want to rely on the venue anymore because they've let me down in the past. So I'm like, I need to have my own stuff. So it works really well. I appreciate it though. It's, we put a little bit of time and effort into that. And I said, if I'm going to vent it, and if you're going to do it, it's a lot of fun. You meet a lot of cool people. People that maybe not are online, and then the ones that are online that you communicate with. We meet some really cool old school people too that aren't really into social media, but you meet some really interesting people. Of course, kids always love holding snakes. We always have a little albino behind the table. We let them hold it, for the most part. So it's a lot of fun. I enjoy doing them. We're definitely going to do more.
This is so sick. I'm sorry. I can't get over that Marcus Jane sticker. Sorry. Anyways. Yeah. So, okay. My question is, when was your first show? Okay. And when do you feel like somebody who's trying to do a show, but never done a show, like should do their show? Does that make sense?
Yeah. I kind of waited. I mean, I had enough animals to do a show, but I didn't think it was very presentable. I was always in Daytona. I've never missed one of those shows. And so I was always in there, wheeling and dealing behind the scenes. But I think it was about 5 years ago, I actually did my first official setup. I had some beat up acrylics I used from a friend, and I had a banner that was made at the last minute, a little vinyl banner, but I was vending. I was happy. It was cool. And then slowly kind of graduated from there. I'm like, okay, these are things I need to change. So for me, seriously, it was about, I said 4 to 5 years ago, we started hitting more shows. I haven't done any out of state shows yet. I will eventually. I'll do Tinley. Hopefully this next year I will do Tinley. I hope. Yeah, and for anybody that wants to do it, just go to the shows and look and see, maybe what some other people are doing, or reach out to some people that the displays that you like to see. We had a lot of questions about ours, and I'm always open about where I get my lights, how much they are, little quirks with them. They work well. There's a few little things you need to know about them. And where I get my stuff from, I'm pretty open about, everything that I've done just to help other people set up, because it can be nerve wracking if you don't have the right outlets for the information to try to do it all by yourself.
I heard some of those setups could be like up in the 10K range. I'm not even joking.
Mine, I'll be honest with you, the backdrop and my table throws, I think I have for most of all of that stuff, not excluding the acrylics, was under $2,000. Actually, it was right around $1,500. Those lights are run around, I think, $70 a piece. So they're really not that bad. You can fit 3 per table. They're kind of tight. I mean, it's really affordable. And once you pay it, you're pretty much done. So it's really not that bad. At least mine wasn't that bad. And I know there's stuff that's even less expensive than mine. I know some of the stretch fabric pieces are a little bit less expensive, but most everything I had was well under $2,000. It's paid for itself in the first year. So I was real happy with it.
Yeah, I mean, I think I was walking around Tinley, and Tinley was a little chilly. So I was like talking to somebody, and there was one with like a thermostat with heat and all sorts of shit, and like the way it folded in and stuff like that. Like it was, I was just like, damn, that's next level right there. But it doesn't surprise me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's some nice stuff out there. I know right now acrylics are kind of tough. A lot of people are looking for them, and I don't think a lot of companies are even making them anymore, just because the acrylic prices have gone up so much and the supply chain is kind of rough right now. So that's been a challenge for some people, just getting acrylics to vend. But other than that, man, most of it's pretty affordable. You can get some really nice pieces out there now, very affordable. You pay for it usually your first or second show for the most part, and if you take care of it, it'll last. I haven't really updated anything in, I think, 3 or 4 years. We had that made 4 years ago, and it's all still going strong. So just little things, when your shows, be prepared for them. Make sure your swiper's working fine. If you're going to use square, just little things like that. You have good signals, because you can get in there sometimes and get something thrown at you that you're not prepared for. But, there's the right way to do it.
Are you comfortable saying right here on the live that ball pythons pays your bills?
It does. I'll be honest with you. I have a full-time job I've had for 20 years, and, ball pythons now at this point, I do better with that than my full-time job, but I can manage both. I'm still going to do both, as long as I can, but it can be, but like I said earlier on, it's something that I put in place in 2004. So, it took a while to get to that point. But yeah, it does. I mean, it gives me the ability to invest differently than I could have done back in 2004. Back then, I just couldn't get into the projects that I can get into now. So it does. Yeah. It pays for itself easily. And then I can invest a certain amount. I reinvest every year, and it does. It can be a good little thing if you do it the right way. But like I said, it does take time, to get to that point.
Now, would you say that, like, if you were to start in this day and age, like if you were to start now, you would get there a lot quicker than it took you starting in 2004?
Yeah, I mean, it could be. Well, just simply because of what I produce. If I had to start right now, with the same money, you can get a lot more now. You can get a lot of money or a lot of animals for the money now. I mean, like I said, you can buy nice double, you get dreamsicles for under 2,000. I mean, you can get some great stuff. If you walked into this hobby now, even with $10,000, you could build a really great collection, even less, like you were talking about that little girl, she made a really cool snake. So you don't have to spend a lot of money now. I don't know if I would, back then you didn't have the options. Now you have choices. If there was a dreamsicle available, it was so expensive, but now you can take your pick of combos. Or like I was telling a friend of mine, he was an old school guy too. And I said, he got out of it and now he's getting back in, but I'm like, the crown box is a lot bigger than it was back then, man. You get a lot of cool stuff now, really affordably. So I think it's a great time to build a collection. You can just hand pick whatever you want. There's so many cool animals out there right now, and they're affordable.
Now, coming from someone who's been in this for a while and made quite a name for himself within the ball python game, what do you recommend someone starting off with? Like, I mean, is the game plan is to get as many not as many, but how many females you want to work with and raise those up and then get the males? Like, what's the smartest route when it comes to wanting to build like your own empire? You know what I mean?
That's a good point. And I always try to get the females first, figure out what you want to make and how many do you want to make? Okay. And how many females are you going to need for that project? But I would always get your females first, at least get that 1.5 to 2 years into those girls. And then by that point, you may be able to get a more powerful male because in that 2 years, more will be available. They might be a little less expensive. So I've always been with me. I always started with my females first. I raised those up. Then I got my right male for that project. You're saving yourself some time, I think, by doing it that way. But that's how I did it. And it's worked well for me. Now this time, like the Ultramel Clown, I don't really have any het females, but I got some big Ultramel girls. So I'll kind of starting at ground zero with that, but at least I'll start with Ultramel het clowns. But I would definitely recommend getting good, solid females, being very patient, try not to make impulse decisions, but handpick your girls, figure out the product that you want to have, how many animals do you need to, if you want to produce, consistently dreamsicles every year, get 4 or 5 good females, that you can afford. The higher level you buy in, the more time you're going to save and the better odds you're just going to create for yourself in the long run. And then get that male, get that great high, whatever the better male that you can afford is going to pay off for you in the long run. If you can get I use a dreamsicle as an example, and say 2 years from now, if you started right now, 2 years from now, if you can afford a combo, a 2 or 3 gene, combo, it's going to pay off for you. So I'd save the money on the male right away, start off with some really good females, unless you already had females in place, then get your good male. But, I like to still make a lot of my own parts, like the Ultramel Clown. I'll make all my own females for that. I don't have much, honestly. So that project, I'm kind of starting, at the bottom, but I would definitely recommend investing in good quality females, and then get that powerful male, 2 years down the road.
So you said the Ultramel Clown, you're starting from the scratch, you said, right?
Pretty much, yeah. I just got some big Ultramel girls, no hets, and I'll make my own, next year and some other combos. And I have Ultramel pied females, so eventually that Ultramel male clown is going to go to the Ultramel pied. So hopefully, down the road, that'll be one of the triple recessives we're working on, the Ultramel Clown pieds. So it's going to be, down the road, but I've already got the females in place. They're kind of young, but that's another project I'll be using with him too. And it's long-term, but at least we'll be producing all Ultramels double head at that point.
But this whole game is long-term. That's the whole point.
That is. I mean, I'm living proof of it. I didn't start off with a lot.
That's why you're here, because you're long-term.
I know some people can do it a lot faster, like I said, now I think you can't expedite it because there's so much available. Back then you were so limited in what was available and it was so expensive. But now I look at what's available on Morph Market and at the shows, you can just start any project you want. And it's a lot more affordable than it used to be. I think that's why it's so much more attractive, because a lot of people that were sitting on the sidelines that saw pies at 5,000 are seeing combos really inexpensive. So they're jumping into it now. They're getting into these projects. And I think that's what's helping it.
Now, with your history in the ball python game, how much of this have you seen? And I'm talking like Jurassic, because I remember when I came into this game, there was all this talk about how it was saturated. Like, oh my God, there was all these chondro people fucking just bashing how ball python this, ball python that. Now these chondro people are trying to ask me for females. It's funny how that works, right?
Yeah.
But anyways, I'm just curious. I remember hearing all that mess about how the crash of the ball python market, which never came,
right.
Here we are, 2021. But how many times has it crashed on you since being in it?
And it's funny because you see these ups and downs. Like any market, it's going to change, but I think in the beginning, a lot of it was just investor driven. You had, people were making a ton of money on the banana stuff and the other stuff out there. So I think they assumed it was going to crash. That may have slowed down, but the market is as strong as ever. And there's always going to be somewhere in the world to sell ball pythons. I don't think it's ever going to completely stop. And I think if anything, there's more interest now than ever. I know Miguel's got tons of followers. A lot more attention is coming to ball pythons now than there ever has been. I know we do some exporting and it's stronger over there to me than it's ever been. We got a lot of stuff that goes over there now. So I don't think you're ever going to see, sure, things, pies are still selling for, $400 to $500. They're going to bottom out at some point, but there's still always going to be a demand for those things. There's no doubt about it. So it's going to be strong. Yeah. As far as a huge crash, I know I've heard the same thing over and over years ago. Oh, it's going to crash. It's still there. And to me, it's just as strong as ever. You're still seeing $15,000 to $20,000 snakes being produced. And a lot of people thought those days were over, and they're still there and there's more coming, So I think it's just as strong as ever. I really do.
Yep. So with that being said, you work with a bunch of other species, which we were talking about when we first started. Mm-hmm. One of them, my dreams species, which is the Bolins. That's you know, I love chondros, right? But I have chondros. Like I have that
Yeah,
dream. Like that dream's
yeah,
locked in. You know, you know, emeralds, dreamy, lock that in. You know, I'm
yeah.
going down the list. But the Bolins, I'm not gonna lie, that's very high up there. Like that's not a cheap animal. Not only that, like it's like has to have the best record of longevity. Which I mean, it's just like anything. You know, the keeping is not the big deal. It's more once you start tapping into the breeding, which I
Right.
feel like if I ever get a Bolins, and I say this now, it's just primarily for a flex, and so I could just dream and just say I have it, yes. But you never know, right? So what's your game plan with your group of Bolins? I gotta ask. What's
Yeah.
going on with that?
Now we're raising them up. My oldest male is 7 years old, and we've got some other ones that we're raising up. And I will pretty soon. I'm going to build a building specifically for the Bolins, and it's going to be regulated a little bit differently temperature wise. We're going to have some indoor outdoor stuff where they can go out and bask and come back in when they want. So we got some ideas on what we're going to do with those guys. But that's the long term plan. Is I'd love to be able to try to produce those. I know a lot of people want to do it, and a lot of people get close. They get slugs or eggs that don't hatch, and they're just a little tricky, but that's a long-term goal. We'll be setting those up and trying to produce those. And that's where I think the ultrasound will come in to play, kind of watching those guys a little bit. But
Yeah,
I mean, to me, to get those to be able to be produced consistently in this country would be pretty cool. That way we wouldn't have to rely on imported stuff and they'd be readily available. But yeah, they're one of my favorites too. They were always kind of my dream animal. And then we were able to, pick up a few here and there. So I love working with them. They're great animals. But yeah, long-term, we're definitely going to be one of my biggest projects, aside from ball pythons. That's going to be something that we're really going to be focusing on heavy on those guys.
so how old are they?
Let's see, my big male, like I said, he's 7. I've got a couple that are a couple pairs that are 2 years old, and I got a pair from last year. So we got a little group of them. So I still got a little ways to go. So I mean, I got some time, but I've already got the building in my head designed. And I kind of know what I'm going to do with it. I just haven't written it down yet, but yeah, we still got some time to go. So I'm going to do the best I can. I know a few people that have had some success and, try to reach out to them and exchange some notes on some things. But yeah, I still got some time, but they're amazing animals. I love my big one. He's just a big sweetheart and just a pleasure to hold. They feel really cool. They're just great animals. I like working with them.
I don't know if you heard of my friend. He's kind of a big deal. Ari Flagel.
Yeah.
That's my boy.
Yeah.
That's my homie.
Yeah.
I have a book that he wrote a sweet note and personally signed it.
Oh, cool.
That guy right there is a dreamy individual. Fucking literally went to the wild to see Bolins. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. Fucking, I forgot what did he get sick of? He almost died in a hut. Oh my! Have you ever read the book? Did you ever read the book?
I have not yet. Serpents in the Clouds, I believe. Yeah, I haven't read it yet, but I do want to check that out.
Please. Yeah. I'm telling you. I mean, you already have Bolins, so you're gonna love the book. You know what I mean? Like it's everything you need to know about Bolins. I'm telling you.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll check that out because I know he's got like a good book out there. So yeah, that's going to be one of my next steps to do that. But yeah, I mean, he was really dedicated. I did see some of the pictures and the videos of him going up there, and I've had other people that I know that have been there, and it's a little sketchy. It's not like on hiking in Costa Rica. It's a little different out there, So it's kind of dangerous, but it just kind of adds to their elusiveness in a way because there's such a weird little spot in the world and hard to get to, hard to find, and I think
they're high
elevation.
Yep,
yeah,
dude.
Yep, high elevations. Yeah,
and cool, dude. Talk about like if you in the book, he temp guns like morning temps at like 56, 54 degrees, dude. Cold temps, bro.
Yeah, and I've heard that they can be active at that. I talked to somebody years ago who had been there. He was doing some surveys, and he claimed he saw some. With light frost on the sides of the mountains, and they were actually out there basking in that. So, I mean, they can handle some cold temps, like I said, I haven't done that to them yet, but from what I know that people have been there and talked to, yeah, it's definitely a different animal for sure, real high elevation, cool temps. So that's, I think, what leads to them being tricky to produce successfully, in captivity is try to mimic that the best you can. So anyway, we'll see. That's a product down the road. That's kind of a big one for me that I'm, going to put a lot into. So yeah, just to do it for myself, so that's something I've always wanted to do. And, like I said, we're going to have a whole building dedicated just to those guys, to see what we can do with them. So that's a long-term goal. That's definitely when we want to work out for us, so pretty exciting.
I will be on your bumper about that. And
I'll let you know
all the updates on that, please. I'm just curious. Now, with that being said, what are the enclosures for your Bolins? What do you keep them in?
I just have like a large PVC now with lighting in there, so that's it for now. And then like so, I'm going to go to the big ones. I've only got one big snake. The other ones I just keep in 6 foot.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so they're plenty of room in there for them, So they're fine. My small ones, my little babies, I'll keep in some arboreal enclosures, let them hide or climb and bass. So I'll keep those in those types of containers or types of cages. But yeah, from what I've had, they're fairly easy to care for. We've had them for a while now, and they're pretty simple. Just do the basics. But I know breeding's a whole different ball game, so that's something I'm going to have to try to figure out, and we'll see what happens in a few years.
I mean, Ari, we were talking about Ari. He basically devotes his whole life to this project, and he still hasn't done it yet, which he will. I believe in you, buddy. I know you will. And he, like, if it's anything about Ari, is like his enclosures, what he does for these snakes. It's like, it's as real as it can possibly get of them being in the wild, and that's why he spent his time in his research, where he went to look at these in the wild so he could fucking mimic that and do what he can where we're at here. But man, these are just one thing that we haven't figured out, same with Timors, although I will say that the gourmet rodent is producing Timors pretty successfully, like year after year now, but like there's still a species that haven't been really tapped in yet. And from what I understand, Timors are only going when they're like fucking 8, 9, 10, years old, like when they're super old. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, and I was pretty big on the Timors. I had a whole group. I had like 13 at one point, or I had like 12 at one point. Mm-hmm. But then, when I was kind of coming to the realization, like on how long term this really is and how big they do get, I was like, dude, this is going to be a lot of fucking animals to store. So I cut that down a lot. You know what I mean? So I spread, I had so many, like I had a lot of people in my Patreon family, and like I had other people that were really wanting to get into the Timor game. So I were able to put them in the right hands of people who are like just super passionate about it. I have tabs on them. So, I didn't just like fucking Craigslist them or anything,
Right. Yeah, I know I had a friend. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Years ago in the 80s, a local guy in Orlando, and he was breeding those Timors. Back then he always had weird success with animals like that, and olive pythons, papuans, all way back, when most people didn't even know what that stuff was. But those are really cool snakes too. I've never kept the Timors. I've always liked them though.
Well, dude, and what's crazy is like the person who is producing multiple Timor clutches year after year is producing them in a rack system.
Yeah. It's weird.
Go figure, you know what I mean? Because I mean, the way I look at it, based off what I see with my Timors, they do explore at night. They love fucking going all over the place, but for the most part, they hide, bro. Like they like to hide. They don't like being exposed unless it comes. But I take that back. They love to bask. So I don't know. I was trying to make an excuse why. Because I could give you so many excuses why ball pythons deserve to be in a rack system. Like ball pythons were designed to be in a rack system. They fucking love it. They don't want no other way. But I've actually seen my Timors go up and bask and like look all cute during the day. And like I see stuff like that. And I'm like, I would hate to take that away from something. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I know what you mean.
I don't know. I mean, I do like the enrich, like with the green trees and stuff. Like in this room, everything has plants. Like I love that. You know what I mean? Like, even though it's for my own personal, like I have plenty of other people who are successful breeding chondros and emeralds, and they don't use any plants. The plants is for like, I guess, I don't know. I fucking just, it's peaceful. I guess. I don't know. And it is a bit of enrichment for them as well. Humidity and whatnot. It doesn't hurt.
Yeah, no, we start off some of our baby bolins like that with hides and plants. And you're right. And it's funny because they're very active at night too. I wake up at 4:00 in the morning and I check on all my animals first thing before I go to work. And they're moving around and pacing, that time of the day or that time of the morning, a lot. And then of course, and then they'll bask later in the day, but they're not that different, in that sense that they do move around a lot at night, especially early morning, before the sun comes up. But then they'll bask the same way. And then they'll hide in their tubes, but I had a lot of that in there. They like the plants. I don't know, but they would hide in the plants when we would feed them. The little bolins. They seem to like that. They seem to do a little bit better with some kind of plants or somewhere to hide. You still with me?
So that girl Ariana, yeah. Can you hear me?
Okay, yeah, I got you.
Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear
you
now.
That girl Ariana, Snake Master Exotics that we were just talking about, the one with the banana blade clown that she made, right?
Yeah. Yep.
In her room, she has a subadult Bolin's python, a raised up male. Yeah. And every time I've been to their house. They live in Florida, Fort Lauderdale. I've been to their house
Okay.
3 times. And every time we go to check it out, dude, this thing is like tucked underneath, like hidden,
Yeah.
like, you know,
Yeah.
it does explore, but it's crazy how they like to tuck themselves into things where they can't be seen, you know?
You're right. Yeah, they do. I've noticed that with some of the small ones. We use cork tubes in some of our arboreal enclosures, and they'll hide themselves in there, and you can't even see them. Of course, they know when it's feeding time, they'll come right out, but they do. They like to hide, like to be secretive, and that's part of their natural behavior anyway, So, I've seen some videos of those guys basking on like a fallen tree, and as soon as you get boom, they go right underneath it. They hide. But
Right.
yeah, my little ones like to hide. They like to hide in their cork tubes, and they seem pretty comfortable and content in there. They'll peek out and look at me. They're very curious though, because when I'm in there moving around, it's like those in the Crebos. They know you're there, and they'll peek out, and see you and kind of watch you, and then they just kind of, but they stay in their tube for the most part, But yeah, they do the same thing.
So, altogether, how many species of snakes do you work with, if you know off the top of your head?
I gotta see. We do Angolans, blackheads, some bolins. We do gray banded kings. We have some alterna. I like those. That's fun little project. I only have a pair, but they're really cool. Now we're getting them consistently, feeding a little bit easier than we were in the past. They're kind of tricky sometimes. So I think we've got 7 right now that I'm working with, and yeah, that's about it. We do work with some blue tree monitors too. That's the only lizard I have right now. I've got a few of those guys. So
Those are
they've
fucking
always
neat,
been a big
bro.
favorite. I love them. Yeah, they're really cool. They don't
them.
get giant. They're just beautiful, and they're just super smart. Very smart. I like those a lot. They're one of my favorite lizards to have. So there's some other things I'm looking at. I know I like Bell's lace monitors too, right? So I know you like those. So that's something that I'm thinking I'm going to get at some point. I've always loved those things. So that's going to be on my wish list maybe this year or next year.
Yeah. I can tell you right now that it's the whole, here's the thing. I got into this, and immediately, like when I got into the ball pythons, I realized how many different species of snakes I could actually like work with. You know what I mean? But it's easy to get ahead of yourself. Like it's easy to like have so much shit going on to where you're like, whoa, what's really, stuff's kind of getting out of hand. And that's what was kind of happened with me. But the biggest issue is like, how easy it is to kind of get like sick animals without even knowing it. Right. What's been like your experience with like taking in like sick animals, either if it's like parasite related, nidovirus related, fucking regurgitation, and whatever. Like, I mean, have you had a lot of experience, because you work with different species with stuff like that?
No, I mean, we keep everything quarantined and usually in the house. It doesn't even go in the reptile building for a very long time. So we've been really lucky. We've had some same protocols in place. We treat everything when it comes through. I don't care if it's, where it comes from, who it comes from, it gets treated, and it's worked well for me over the years. We've never had any, nido outbreaks, never had any, mite outbreaks. So I've, back in the 80s, you didn't have a lot of captive breeding. Most of it was import, and a lot of stuff had mites. I mean, the wholesalers were full of mites. There were mites everywhere. So we learned back then how to treat them. I still do the same thing I did back then. It still works pretty good for me. So I keep everything isolated from my main collection for a really long time. Before we bring in a lot of my ball pythons, most of my collection is self-produced. I don't bring in a lot of animals. I do a handful every year from a close friend, or something I really need. But most of what I have, is produced in-house, and I just hold it all back. Just keep going from there. But yeah, I've never had any, major issues with anything. Bringing in some of that other stuff too, you got to kind of be on your toes. You kind of watch it a little bit, but I keep everything separated and isolated. So I never have any issues with that. No, not at all.
Okay, cool. I just always have to ask, because I mean, especially people who've been doing this for a while have had a lot of like encounters with shit like that.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, you saw it was there. I mean, like I said, you knew stuff was out there back in the old days, but as long as you stick to good protocols, like I said, I don't care who it comes from. I don't care how popular they are. Just always isolate and everything that you get, and treat it properly. And, because it can bring down a collection if you get the wrong thing in there. You don't want that to happen. So I treat it. I mean, it's very important to me because I put so much time, so many years into it, and a lot of money into it. So I just want to make sure I protect myself and the animals too,
So with that being said, obviously having animals, that's overhead. You have to pay for that shit with somehow, either with food, time, something, right? So what are you doing? Like, do you have something in plan for the long run to take care of the overhead work that you're working, like with the other species? Like, all the time and money that you're putting with the other species, at some point, are you looking to make money off that stuff?
Honestly, most of those are side projects. I love work with the Crebos. We do the Gray Band Kings, and they're awesome. Most of that stuff to me are side projects. The Bolins is going to be a big one for me. Obviously, the ball pythons, pretty much, they kind of fund everything else, all my other little hobbies. But most of the other stuff to me are just side projects. For the most part, the Angolans, we only have one pair. Black-headed pythons, we have one pair. And like you were saying, get overwhelmed. And that happened to me, when I was young. I was, at the time, it was in the mid to late 80s. I got overwhelmed. I had rock pythons and retics and Kaloo. I had just everything because I liked reptiles. I mean, and I got too much. I got overwhelmed. So I learned my lesson, and I'm not going to do that again. So I am going to keep a few other species, but to me, those are more just like little fun side projects, like my redfoots. I like, hatching those, and I like doing some colubrids, but I'm definitely not going to go overboard on those. I don't look at those as a big money generator. The ball pythons, do fund everything. That's my food bill, my power bill, and everything that goes along with it. So yeah, I was a little baby one there, but
I probably should have pulled this up a while ago, but who cares?
That's okay. They're cool. Yeah, they
I
change
love them.
quick.
Yeah, they do. But the baby stage, bro, is like amazing. Like the red, right before it goes into the dark phase, like it's unbelievable, bro.
Yeah, and it's cool because before you're looking at them and you go in and you check them, and next thing you know, they're black. It's like it's just like that. It happens pretty quick. But you miss seeing that red color, but you do welcome seeing that black iridescence. So it's not a disappointment when they change at all. But the ball pythons,
because it's like levels of black that you start to experience, like the jet black, and then it's like, holy shit, what's happening? You know what I mean? And then when it goes in shed, and like, oh my god, it's just like it's just you're not constantly being wowed by the thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And all you gotta do is put them out in the sunshine. And it's like it's just another level of wildness. You're like, wow, look at the iridescence, So yeah, they're pretty amazing animals. But yeah, like I said, ball pythons are pretty much what funds little side projects, So that's my main focus. Yeah.
I'm gonna say, man, I do regret sleeping on this project. I've had an opportunity multiple times a couple years ago, and I just didn't do it. I can still do it now, but I love them. Like the Angolans is like, what I mean? It's like everything you wish a ball python would be. You know what I mean? Like personality wise, has attitude. Like I've even seen them fucking be arboreal big time. They love climbing. Like they're just like, it's a ball python with the personality. Like it's like the BMOC of ball pythons. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I agree. They're awesome. I love them. You're right. They're a little hissy and a little nippy as babies. They do grow out of it. And, kind of what I was talking about earlier with everything being captive bred now, 15, 20 years ago, you just didn't see these readily available. And I think if you go on Morph Market now, there's going to be at least 10 to 15 available. And that's the nice thing about it. They're affordable and you can actually get them and breed them. And that's, things have come so far in the last 15 to 20 years. Things that you just were unachievable back then, you can get now, and they're fairly affordable. But yeah, they're awesome animals. They feel unique. Their scales are beaded. They're a little hissy, but for the most part, they're pretty cool. I like those guys, and they're out there. You can get them.
Now, slow growers though, right? Like these take their time a little. Like you got to wait to breed these so they're about 4 years old or something. Am I right?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, we're just raising up our a pair. I don't have a lot of experience breeding them yet, so I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, they tend to grow. I mean, mine are growing pretty good. They're about a year and a half old now, and I mean they've gotten pretty good size. I just feed them once a week. I don't overfeed them, but but no, I like those. So, and like I said, another little side project. It's just something I've always wanted. I like working with them, and just a little bit of diversity. Because like you, I've always kept multiple species. Never just one. So I like those guys a lot. They're really cool animals, and they are definitely a little, like I said, little bit of an attitude when they're babies, but a lot of it's bluffing. For the most part.
Right. Yeah. Now, I mean, let me ask you this: this is your first time, working with Angolans. Like you didn't, because these been around for a while, so you never worked with these in the beginning, like back in the day or anything like that, right?
No, they just weren't a lot out there, and they were pretty expensive at that time. So I never did jump into those. No, I think it was Casey Lasik. I think had
Casey Lasik, yeah.
Yeah, he had one of the few groups, I think, in the U.S. years ago, and very few people were producing them. He was consistently, and I've always admired him. So, yeah, I finally had the opportunity to get some, and I was like, all right, I'm going to do it. I love those things and always wanted to try it.
Casey's an OG, bro. I got to get this guy on that show.
Yeah, he's got some cool stuff. He was definitely a pioneer in a lot of that stuff.
Yep. And, him and many others, you know what I mean? That's why, the reason why I'm so inspired of doing this podcast is because you just find more people who've been involved that aren't really like, Casey's out there for the most part on Facebook, but he doesn't have an Instagram. No, he does have an Instagram. No, I take that back. He does. He's just more of like on the herping side, you know what I mean? Of the scene, which a lot of people who come in here just look past that shit. They don't really care, you know. Lucky for me, I have homies who are all about the herp scene, and I love it. Don't get me wrong. Like, it's just, I have ADD, bro. Like, I just get bored quick. Like, they like to go to the desert for like hours, bro. Like, and like, it's like 2 a.m, and I'm just like, bro, we've seen one snake. Like, I'm calling it a night. You know what I mean? And they're like, no, man. And they have their headlamps on and shit. And I'm just like,
yeah, I know what you mean, man. I got a good friend like that. He
shit.
comes down for Daytona, and we go ride around at night. We'll cruise roads. We'll find, you know, the usual stuff. We'll find cottonmouths and pygmies. And, you know, I want to be done at 11 o'clock. Then he's putting a headlamp on. He wants to wander in the swamp for 4 hours. I'm like, I'm not doing that anymore. But, you know, we do a lot of that here, too. You know, this time of year, especially when things are moving, a lot of rattlesnakes moving right now, you know, indigos, stuff like that. So, you know, now's a good time. But I'm with you. You know, I like to do it to a point, but I got to know when to go home.
where in Florida are you?
I'm just west of Daytona, small town. So we ship out of Daytona. So yeah, I'm literally 20 minutes from Daytona Beach, west of Daytona. Yep. So
damn, I was supposed to meet you at Daytona too.
Yeah, you make it down there, but no big deal.
I'll be there next time.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
when is the next? When is next? Daytona's in the springtime too, right?
No, he does one show and it's in August, third week.
That's
in August.
it. Just once a year.
Once a year. That's it.
There used to be 2 Daytonas though.
No, he always did one a year. He's never done it. We talked to him about it. No, he's only done one show a year ever since, I think it was 1990 was the first one. They moved it from Orlando to Daytona. But yeah, he's only done the one show. Yeah, that was it. It's been a pretty successful show. It's still going strong. This year was, I think, one of his busiest years ever as far as tables. You know, he had a great year and a lot of people there. It was packed. It was a good show.
Okay, stop rubbing it in, bro. Just stop.
I haven't been to Tinley yet, so you can get me back there.
So you haven't been to Tinley? Oh, bro. Tinley was
this year.
That was like going to Disneyland for the first time. That was amazing, bro.
Yeah, I had friends that were there, and they said it was incredible. So next year,
you got to go. You got to go next year.
Yeah.
I promised to go to Daytona. You promised me to go to Tinley, and then
I'll be there. I already laying the groundwork for that next year. I promise. Yeah.
So you'll be there in March.
I'll probably be there in the fall show. I don't know about the March.
Oh, the October.
Yeah, I'll be in the fall show probably. Cool. Yeah. Yep.
Either way, it's gonna go down.
Yeah, go.
So, all together, how many clutches are you averaging a year right now?
Good question. Typically we were running around 70 to 75 clutches a year pretty consistently. Last year with COVID, we backed off in February because there were a lot of uncertainties in the market. Didn't know what was going to happen. You know, we were seeing something we hadn't seen before. My exporter couldn't get flights out anywhere in February. So I decided to back off. I didn't want to get inundated with animals and without an outlet. Then as we saw over the summer, it was just the opposite. Animal sales were on fire. We hit a few shows. We got hit hard. So that year we did around 50. I think what happened is set us up for this year. And this year we did 132. So it was the most we've ever had. So it was a pretty good year. And we're building our colony up too a little bit. But yeah, so we did right around 132 clutches this year. I think we had 136. We had 4 that were just slug outs, but 132 that were good. So, you know, we're on the downside now. Now I'm selling more than I'm hatching. It was June and July were kind of tough. We were hatching, 3 to 5 a day. It was pretty hectic, but everything's stabilized now. So it's a little more than I thought I was going to get, but that's where we are. I'd like to be back in that 80 clutch range. That's comfortable for me to manage with a job and the animals. Gives me enough animals to sell online, do a little export, and hit all the shows and still have animals until my next baby start coming again. So I don't run out like I did last year, but that's about where I'm at right now.
Let me ask you this: with people who are running into situations such as like having a bunch of hets, like they have a lot of hets that they got to move, and they're not moving them on Morph Market or having a hard time moving them. What's your suggestion for somebody what's another avenue somebody could take? You feel like?
What I do, I get them to, I still use some pet stuff and find somebody who's dealing with, sometimes just some pet stores or some shops. And we have no problem wholesaling low rent stuff. I mean, we get it. And it goes pretty quick because the numbers that are being imported are a fraction of what they were years ago. So there's definitely a good market for that stuff. I would try to find, if you go to a show, maybe find a dealer, find some stores, find some shops in the area. We have one guy in particular that we deal with and he buys a lot of that stuff. We have 3 shops that buy a lot of that lower end stuff. One guy buys a lot more of it, but I would recommend that, reach out, see who's out there, maybe go to some shows and find out who in your area is doing that. Some of them are hard to find. There's a couple of guys when I deal with, and he's pretty much off the grid, but he moves a lot of stuff. So You just got to, I think, ask and find the people in your area, because most of that stuff low end will go. You just got to find the right home for it, the right person to buy that in bulk. And it usually goes pretty quick. A lot of it ends up in pet stores, but that's what I would recommend, just reaching out, trying to find some people that have some shops.
Now, for your game plan when it comes to producing, each year, like what's your, how's it work with you as far as the amount of females that you're like for instance, you have 80 clutches, right?
Right.
But what's your success rate for the most part? Like how many pairings is that? That's out of how many opportunities? Like, are you pairing 100 pairings or like, are you going 80 for 80? Like what's your, basically your percentage on that?
This year we paired, I think it was right at 170. We ended up with 136 with the 4 slugs. So that was a pretty good year. And then I'll back off, at some point. But that's where we were this year. Around pair, I think right at 170. Ultimately, I'll probably have right around 200 females, and that's it. And that'll give me a variety of opportunities to produce what I want. So that's where we were at it this year. So it was pretty solid year. We were happy with that. And honestly, I didn't want anything else to ovulate. At one point I was done seeing girls ovulate. Every time I slid a tub open, there's another one, so I was kind of happy to stop ovulating. But that's usually where I'm at. When we do usually 70 to 80, we weren't pairing that much. This year we paired more than normal because we had a whole new rack online. So that was also what helped, I think, increased our numbers a little bit too, so that's kind of where we are. Yep.
Cool. You don't work with any boa species, right? I don't know if I asked you that, but no boa species.
No, I used to just have boas. I used to have years ago, I got some stuff from Tom Burke, some of the Sunglow stuff. So I did have boas at one time, bred boas. I did pretty good with them. When they started passing a lot of legislation in Florida, there were rumors that boas might be added into that simply because of the Deering estate, which is in Florida, has a colony of boas on it. So there were rumors, people I knew that were, in those Fish and Game meetings, they were being discussed as being added. So I kind of made a decision to move out of the boas. They took up a lot of room where I was before I got my building. So I got away from the boas. I do regret it because I did like keeping boas. We used to keep Surinams back in the day and Guyana boas back in the day. I used to like beautiful. And, back then we were kind of spoiled because they would come in as imports, as babies. And you just saw some beautiful animals come in those days, stuff we don't really see much now. But some of those Guyana boas were just pink. I mean, from one end to the other, were just beautiful. But I used to keep boas. Yeah, we had pretty good success with doing some of the Sunglow stuff. And then I got out of that just because I was worried about legislation, here in Florida. We're kind of the poster child for invasive. So we're always kind of on alert as what's coming next, So, that's kind of made me phase out of my boas a little bit.
Okay. Now I have a wrap-up question for you before we get into the hot seat questions. Okay. So all together, man, like what's your game plan? Like what's your end goal with the breeding? Like, are you looking to at some point be able to look at your job and say, why am I even working? Like, it just doesn't make any sense at this point. Or are you going to always do what you got to do to maintain your real job? I mean, your 9 to 5 or, your day grind with the snakes. Like, are you going to ride that out till like you're like senile, or like because some people are workhorses like that, and respect, like some people can't say no to a check like that, you know what I mean? And I understand that, if you could do both, that's great. But there's so much like Levance, shout out to Levance, but he talks about levels in this game, and you could go so many levels. Like if you look how Justin markets himself and how Miguel does his YouTube shit, like you could push this shit however far you want. Obviously that takes time, you know what I mean? Like they're full time at that stuff, obviously, but is there ever a point in your mind where you feel like you could do this full time?
Yeah, I mean, it crosses my mind. It definitely does. I just want to look for consistency, string together several years of that consistency. But right now, they're both manageable. Like you said, it's hard to walk away from something you've been doing over 20 years, So I've had friends that branched off and did his own thing. And he said it was the scariest thing he ever did in his life, but he's very successful. He's got different things going on in the reptile world. And he took a 3-pronged approach to it, and he's done extremely well. So it's something that's definitely in the back of my mind. And at some point, maybe, but I'm not going to continue just to grow. I'm topped off at where I want to be, and then just, upgrade animals to better quality animals. And that day may come, at some point where I decide to just, do it full time. Cause you're right. You get to a point where like, I don't have a lot of spare time. I'm up at 4 a.m. I usually get home at 3 p.m. Then it's animals after that. My days off, it's animals. So it is a grind, but I like doing it. It's not a bad thing. I enjoy spending time in my reptile building, so I like doing it and I like working with the animals. But at some point it could, I could definitely see that happening where I could, kind of go off and just do reptiles full time. Two of my good friends just got back from the Galapagos Islands, and I couldn't make it because I had to work, but they had a blast. I'm like, that's what I want to do. I want to go there and do things like that and travel a little bit more and see some cool stuff. So it's definitely in the back of my mind, though.
Good. I mean, only because I feel like the hobby could use you more, man. We could use more George. We want more George.
I appreciate it, man. Sometimes I do lack in the social media stuff because I just don't have a lot of time to get on there, but I do try to post and communicate with people as much as I can. And people reach out to me sometimes for, help or questions, and I always try to help them if I can, but yeah, trust me, it definitely crosses my mind a lot.
You want me to share something with you? And this is being completely honest.
Yeah, man.
So I started this podcast with my boy Forrest Fanning, rest in peace, but my boy Forrest, and I started this when I was on disability. I had knee surgery, right? Mm-hmm. So I was out of work for like 3 months. So I started it like right out of surgery, and I was rolling, man. Like I was all about it. Basically living a full-time breeder life while I was injured, right? So I get back to the 9 to 5, which is more fucking like 7 to 7, like just fucking 12-hour, 13-hour days. Yeah. And I remember Thursdays would come, and I would literally not want to do podcasts. Like I was like, where's my fucking energy at? Like, where my mind? Like, I don't even want, like, Forrest and I would be booking big ass people, you know what I mean? And I'm just like, what is it? Like, where's my funk at? Yeah. And it's like, dude, when you have so much energy going into one thing, to channel that energy on the same level to something else within that same day is nearly impossible, bro. Yeah. It's like, and dude, not only with the podcast is, but I was looking at the snakes as work instead of love. And I was just like, that's what I looked at. I was like, dude, I have too many species. Like, that's one I had to cut down. Like, it's dude, it's not easy, bro. Like, it's not.
You're right.
And reality hits too, because that's when you're like, bro, like you're not keeping up. And once the fun's out, why are you even doing it? Like, I'm only like this because it's been fun this entire time. Yeah. Give or take my freezer with some dead animals, but you just you go with the flow with that. There's nothing you can do. But dude, this has been so much fun, bro. Like having you on here after all these years. Well, I mean, 3 years of having your work, raising it up. And like even having like the mindset, like I can't wait to have George on here. Like, I want to have you on here with another guest next time, for the round 2. We'll talk about that down the road. But either way, this has been an amazing time, George. I got to say, how many podcasts have you done? Because I feel like I haven't heard you anywhere. So this
is my very first podcast I've ever done, man. I don't have time, but you were the first one, and I didn't want to turn this down when you offered it, and it was kind of hectic getting into it. But like you were saying, if it doesn't become fun, if it's not fun anymore, then that's where I don't want to get to that point. A good friend of mine was in it years ago, put up a big building, went big, and within 6 months was selling his collection. I asked him why, and he goes, I'm working 70 hours a week. I have 2 employees. I have no life. I never wanted to get to that point, so that's why I'm kind of content with where I'm at right now. I don't really want to go any bigger than where I'm at, but you're right. If it's not fun, it should be fun. It should continue to be fun, and you should have a good time. You don't want to look at it as work and be miserable, and it's not fair to the animals either. So I agree 100%. You got to try to keep it fun, have a good time with it.
Wait, my last add-on on top of the wrap-up question, because I wanted to ask you this. How many people on your team? Like, how many people are actually helping you? I didn't even ask you, do you produce your own rodents?
No, I get them from a good friend of mine. I wouldn't have the time to maintain a rodent colony. There's no way.
Yeah, I was going to say, no, that's a whole nother fucking thing, bro.
I can't do it, man.
And that sucks.
No, I can't. He's good. He's reliable. He's close by, and he keeps ball python. So there's times when, I'll do trades, which is even better for me. So no, I rely on him. He's really good. Gets me everything I need. And as far as the animals, it's pretty much just me. I do have a young niece that helps me set up babies and some things like that. She helps me at the shows, but as far as the day-to-day maintenance and everything, it's just me. I don't have any employees, so it's a little bit of a grind, but she does help me out with some stuff. So that's it. As far as the team, it's just me and her occasionally.
All right, cool. I'm going to send you a contract, and in the contract, it's going to say you can't go on any other podcast, but until round 2. And then there'll be like, we'll have details in there. Trust me, we'll make it worth your while.
Sounds good.
No, but dude, honestly, George, thank you so much, bro. This has been a real player episode. And like I said, this has been well overdue, and it's the best way to do it on Trapsgiving, bro.
I agree, man. I appreciate it.
What a night. What a night.
Thanks a lot.
All right, wait, you're not done, man. Hot seat questions. Okay, we got hot seat questions for the homie George. Okay. And yeah, man, I don't need an explanation. Do your best to just answer as I go, okay?
Okay.
All right, here we go. We have hot seat questions coming in hot for George MD. You ready, George?
I guess so. Go ahead. What do we got?
Here we go. Frozen thought or live?
Live.
A cutter or no cutter?
No cut.
Pre first shed meal or post first shed meal?
Post.
Cool. Straight bake or no straight bake? Meaning incubation. Do you change any temps like during incubation, or do you go straight through?
It's straight all the way through. Yep. I don't change it at all.
Okay. Yay imports, boo imports.
That's a tough one. As far, there is. It depends. The way I look at it, like there are some species I think
it's either yay or boo, bro.
I know. It's hard because if I say one and I know there's an explanation. Blue tree monitors are a perfect example. I think we need to still get some in for bloodlines. But I would love to see animals be produced here consistently and not have to rely on imported animals. That would be great. So I'm all for. So I guess nay. Long answer.
All right, to spray or to not to spray?
What are you spraying?
Like to miss, like your animals. To spray
no, I don't need to here because my humidity's fine. So no, for me, I don't need it. Yeah, not at all.
All right. Sports or no sports?
Yes, sports.
All right. Baseball or football?
Football.
Favorite football team?
Miami Dolphins, even though they let me down.
Favorite football quarterback of all time?
Dan
Marino?
Be my man. Yeah, feel bad
for
him.
He's
still my man. He's still my man. Yep.
I'm a big Ace Ventura fan, so like because of Dan Marino, I'm just fucking Finkel.
One of my favorite movies.
Yes. Big flexor or no flexor?
No flexor.
Oh, come on, George. I mean, your brand flex though. I mean, I will. You personally yourself, but your brand does flex. I will.
Okay, cool.
Okay, steak or fish?
Fish, definitely.
Ooh, favorite fish?
Tough one. Wahoo. If I can get it, wahoo is one of my favorite fish.
Nice. Favorite shellfish?
Shrimp.
Nice. Yep. Van Halen or Sammy Hagar?
Van Halen.
Nice. All right, cool. Yeah. Eminem or Machine Gun Kelly?
Tupac.
You got to pick one of the white dudes.
I'll go with Eminem. I can't do Machine Gun Kelly. Not my style.
Damn. Okay. So I was gonna say favorite. Okay. Wait. Hold on. West Coast or East Coast rap?
West Coast.
And then favorite West Coast rapper?
It would have to be Tupac. Yeah.
All right. Respect, bro. Poetry all day. Little word association. First thing to come to mind: milk.
Bloated stomach. I don't like milk.
For reals, bro. I can't even drink fucking red. I used to be on that whole milk tip, like all through high school. And now like my boy Calvin, shout out to Calvin. He drinks whole milk chocolate milk every day because he's like 19. Good luck when you're like 25, bro. Like it changes. It goes away, bro. I'm telling you.
It does. Yeah, hit me. I can do it.
But anyways, yeah. Okay, cocoa.
Puffs.
Substrate.
Aspen.
Ovulation.
More incubation space.
Day 60, still no eggs.
I don't know on that. I still don't cut. So I'll wait it out. We'll just ride it out.
All right. New arrival has mites.
It gets quarantined and dusted and treated like everything else that doesn't have mites.
All right. Instagram trolls.
I don't even know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
You're too under the scene right now. You're good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let me ask you this because this is important. The future is important, George, and future's in your hands right now. If one had to disappear forever, and I mean forever, Facebook or Instagram, which one's going to go?
It would be Facebook.
Yeah, coming from an OG Facebook guy, dude. This motherfucker's highly respected in Facebook, and he even knows Instagram's the future.
I like Instagram. And I'll be honest, I got to thank my friend Dale Richards for helping me out because he kept pushing me to go on Instagram and I didn't do it. Not a big social media guy. And he's like, you're going to like it better. And he was 100% right. I like it a lot.
Dale was tapped in, dude. Dude, any Florida cat I have on the show, Dale's tapped in. Dale really puts it on for his Florida fucking breeders.
He's a good dude, man. He's a good guy.
Dale's legit. And, I've had the privilege of having Dale on the show, which he's going to come back. Maybe I get both of you guys on next time. Maybe that would be a good fucking round too. But like I said, there's so many people out there who are going to hit you up after this. I need you. You're going to be in contract. You're in a complete contract right now. Okay. Like I said, I'll have my boy Matt Summers type up and email it to you by the end of the day. We'll be all right. But anyways, listen, we had roughly about mid 60s of people watching at this at tonight. So what do you have to say to all your supporters out there, man? People who've been following you, people who've been fucking with you for a while, and people who are motivated off this podcast, wanting to buy something from you now. What do you have to say to everyone, man?
I just want to say thanks for all the support, because if it wasn't for you guys getting animals for me, I wouldn't be able to continue to do what I do. But I mean, I'm living proof that you can start at the very, very bottom with a minimal amount of money and build a collection up to where you want to be, a comfortable level that you want to be at. So I appreciate everybody that, you know, follows me and supports me, hangs out at the shows and talks to me. And yeah, it's always a lot of fun. I have more fun, I think, doing that than I do selling animals sometimes. So that I do thank. I thank every one of you guys for hanging out and reaching out and all. It's I appreciate all the positive comments. That's one of the big things I like about the hobby too, is everybody kind of connecting and learning from each other.
At the end of the day, we're all here for each other, bro. We're all on the same fucking boat. You know what I mean? That's why, you know, I think as time progresses and stuff, like a lot of the political shit that used to kind of give dark clouds over the hobby is kind of like simmering down, going away. And, you know, especially like you said, the shows, you go to a show and meet somebody that you've never, you know, maybe you've been following them for a while, but you never got to know them. When you go to a show, you get to know people. You know what I mean? And I mean, I can't tell you how many people I've actually met to get to know that I didn't like. I'm telling you, in person, all that shit, it all comes together, dude. So
you're right. I agree 100%. You learn, you meet people, and your perception of them can change a lot. You know, like I said, I met some people at shows, and it just changed my outlook on them. And you know, have a great time. You learn a lot. You can meet people and sit there and talk. And to me, that's a big plus.
That's what's up, bro. Well, listen, you have a great rest of your night. Have a great, happy, wonderful Thanksgiving, George MD. And I want you to have just a good week, man. I appreciate you so much. And I will be in touch for the round 2. Best believe.
You bet, man. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on. I'm flattered, and I'll definitely do this again. This was a great time, man. I really appreciate it.
All right, George. Awesome. George MD, ladies and gentlemen.
All
right, bro. Have a good night. See you
later,
later,
man. Have a good night. Have a good holiday. Thank you.
Later. You know what's sick about his last name? MD. Sounds like he's saying Mac Dre. This guy's just the perfect package for me, man. The guy's awesome. Thank you so much for all of you who was tapping in on your pre-Thanksgiving night. I know either people are getting ready to go out, people are chilling, smoking like I am. I know what I'm going to go do. It's burrito time. I might get a taco too. Yes. Thank you, guys. Hey, listen, it's not over. Get your grub on. All right. And then be ready to tap in, because Saturday it's going down. UK, where you at? We have the #1 importer, exporter in the United Kingdom tapping in with us Saturday morning. If you're from California, no matter where you're at, just get ready. Tap in. Dave Russian Reptiles of the UK. This motherfucker is bringing in heat from Canova over. Like he's bringing like. Listen, you guys got to understand. I'm getting really excited because you guys got to understand the UK game a few years back did not have the shit that they have now. Okay. But a lot of stuff is becoming available in the UK because of motherfuckers like Dave Russian. This is huge. Be ready. Go down and link below. Set that reminder. Saturday, 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. I appreciate you guys so much. You have no idea. Again, if you ever want to get a hold of me, the best way to do that. And like I said, if you want to ever see what I got going on production-wise and what's available, go to my Morph Market. Go down, link below. But my Morph Market's available. Store is up. And you can also hit me up on Instagram. Make sure you hit me up on mjexoticscartal with an A, not an E. And follow the Trap Talk with MJ podcast Instagram page as well. Shouts on my Twitch viewers. Send any donations or any support, anything you like to PayPal, mjexoticscartal 619. And shouts on my Patreon members, man. If you ever want to thank me, if you're out there like, damn, MJ's this guy's nonstop. He's killing it. How can I ever thank MJ? Join my Patreon page. If you're not a weirdo, if you're not on a Bob Smith shit, if you're not on an ego trip, if you're not on a when's it my turn type of thing, if you got a good attitude and you really want to fucking meet some new, fresh people and you want to thank me by joining the Trap Talk Patreon family. Go down to the link below. We get together every Sunday. We talk. I'm here to help you guys game plan, man. Help me help you. You know what I'm saying? I love you, trappers, though. Thank you so much. Like I said, have a great rest of your night. Thank you for tuning in to the coolest reptile podcast in the world, because that's just what this is every single time. And I don't miss a beat. You feel me? I'm out.